Puerto Rico. Giving.
All right, give thanks for that. Yeah, man, blessings.
Give thanks for being
here. All right, we want to welcome everyone and thank you for joining us this afternoon. We have a very special agenda, a little unusual, but you know, the times call for unusual strategies. And this is one of those this evening. My name is Jalani Naya. I want to ask Raseku just to do the usual invocations for us before we begin. So Raseku, if you don't mind, just bless the congregation.
Yes,
please.
sir.
Thanks.
Yes. Yes, we give thanks for this great day. We give thanks that we could come together to give tribute to our dear brother, Rastafari, and all the fathers, wherever they are. We sometimes forget about the fathers, and the fathers are very important, so we support, we celebrate, and honor the fathers today through Rastafari. So we give thanks for all the great ancestors. We give thanks to Their Majesty Haile Selassie I. We give thanks for Empress Menen Aswa. We give thanks to the great matriarchs and patriarchs. We give thanks for Bongo Watto, Bongo Time, Bongo Shevans, Bongo Rocky, Ma Shanti, Pa Shanti. We give thanks to Bongo Rocky. We give thanks to Mama IvI. We give thanks to Ma Papa Boa. We give thanks to Shepherd Atili Rogers. We give thanks. We give thanks for. We give thanks to all the great ancestors, spirits, and spirit guide. We give thanks to Marcus Garvey Jr. We give thanks to the great peacemakers. We give thanks to Lennon Howell. We give thanks to Nathaniel Hibbert. We give thanks to Archibald Donkey. We give thanks to Robert Hines. We give thanks for Queen Nzinga. We give thanks to all the great Rastafari matriarchs and patriarchs, Sister Jania, Sister Syria, Sister Margaret, Sister, all the great sisters, mamas, and Adrian who left us. We give the thanks that the spirit of love, the spirit of Rastafari will dwell in us and dwell in this meeting.
Give thanks.
Live for Iva and Iva. Give thanks.
Yes, give thanks, Raseku. And I particularly asked you to pray because I know how you pray, and I thought it important to begin this afternoon by honoring our ancestors and making sure some names that we know well as parts of our community are a part of this event, so to speak. Sosa Crew is very honored today to have this forum. It's a year in the making. And just to provide some context, Ras IvI last year, probably a day or two before this, celebrated a strong, that was a special celebration at Green Bottom. He had engaged a good brethren, Jake, to put together some footage and images to help to account the journey that he himself had had. And because of how the Green Bottom setting was, the PowerPoint didn't get as much attention as it could for what it is worth as a historical document. This afternoon, therefore, a year later, fulfilling our promise last year that we would revisit this agenda with Ras IvI, we're glad to have him here to really help to layer not just his story, but I&I's story, particularly as it relates to his experience with the Nyahbinghi and the tribes that he has been a part of. Ras IvI is a unique ample among I&I, you know, is almost like nurtured from, you know, when Christ was found among the wise men in the temple as a youth, Ras IvI is that kind of brethren among I&I. From as early as he was 8, 9, he has been a part of this community and inspired to really be at the center of how we work into the 21st century. Rastafari is a young elder. You know, for years he had not met the 60 mark, so he couldn't serve in his full capacity. Well, he's attained that 60 and more now, and had been overdoing his own youth before he was 60. So we have great expectations as we go forward with him now. We are glad this evening that he has agreed. We have done this a week before Father's Day because of his own schedule, and we wanted to make sure that we kick off the ball right, because the whole month belonged to I, really. There are a number of important occasions. Ras IvI's Earth Strong was the first, Leonard Howells is the 16th, and there are a range of our brethren and sistren who are born in this month. So this afternoon, we have invited you all to a part 2. And who knows, if this goes well enough, we could make this an annual moment for I coming together to strengthen one another as fathers, which is really what this is about. But we're particularly glad this afternoon for all of the collaborations which have made this happen. We thank the Tron platform. In a Nth-hour move, they've asked their own regular meeting to join us. There would normally have been a 3 o'clock meeting, so we're very much pleased that that could happen today. And we're looking forward to that which is to be shared in this space. So I am going to remove myself very quickly, as much as I am here to help in placing the story on record, Ras IvI. Brother Jakes and you have worked on this project for a while, and you know he's a little older than me, so him know the Puros and the Edful and all the people I may not have met. He has better locations. So I'm really pleased that Brother Jakes has had this facility and has brought this strength. So Ras IvI, I'm going to turn over to Jakes, but before I do, I want you to kind of help us. We know you were a young man when His Majesty came to Jamaica. And, you know, that story you tell us how your mother linked you into looking to the king. But I want to know, what is your first understanding of Rastafari, even before the king? You know, when did Rastafari come to your imagination first? I just want to ask you that before I turn you over to Brother Jakes. So we know about his visit, but tell us when you first got an ironical attention, consciousness about Rastafari as a possibility for you.
Wow. I think, you know, there was a family member who's still alive, lives in Mandeville, Bongo. Bongo Strong was a family member who visited the home. So we were always seeing Rastafari. Am I clear enough? Everything is good?
All good, my brother.
I'm hearing you.
So Bongo would have been that person who was always at home at times when you visit. And so we usually see Rastafari, you know, and in Barbican where we grew up, there was always a sign of Rastafari at home, you know. But the king's visit, seeing His Majesty, seeing that gathering at King's Gate, that moment was like a wake up just to see Rasta smoking herb in front of police, having jubilation. I think that was a pivotal start. And then I would say again, giving my mother all the props again, a mother who raised us without a father, who was away in England. I remember going to St. Francis Primary and coming home as a young man. This is before I'm 10 years old, because my mother left Jamaica when we were 10. And I remember coming home, saying prayers before bedtime, and she overheard me saying my prayer, which we learned when we went to Catholic school. And the prayer ended by saying, "And blessed be the Holy Father, the Pope." and I heard a loud voice saying, "Don't say nothing about the Pope." And I turned up, I look up and saw that it was my mom who said, and I said to her, "Mom, tall," as we called her, "that's what the prayer said." Just say, "I don't business what the prayer said." I said, "Never you ever mention the Pope in your prayer again." And that made me think deeply. She didn't explain why, but from then on, when I went back to school that morning, I removed myself from every prayer that was said at St. Francis Primary because it had to do with Catholicism. Yeah. But it was really high school now when we start go into the Bible. I was glad for 12 tribes of Israel because there was an ideology among 12 tribes where you read a chapter and you start with the Bible from Genesis. And in that search, we found the liberty of Rastafari. So
Rastafari, I want to, before Jakes comes in, you mentioned your mother, but we don't hear mention of your father. So are you one of those?
He was away. He was always away.
Okay. Okay.
So mom played both roles.
I get you fully.
Well.
All right, lovely. And many women have that responsibility, you know, and your mother seems like she was a real soldier.
Oh, she perfected it well.
All right, so Brother Jakes, many of us know. I want to ask you a second question, just in introducing Brother Jakes. Last year, you asked Jakes for help with representing a certain kind of historical background. Tell us a little about that relationship and why you might have chosen to go that route. Yeah.
Listen, Jakes Omiak, in my view, has known more of the Rastafari Nyahbinghi elders and elders outside of the Nyahbinghi tradition than any other person I know. I met Jakes in 1980, and I always talk to him about that moment. 1980 was the golden jubilee of the grand coronation, 50th anniversary, in a place called Angelites, that's close to Bogwalk. And I remember seeing a white man for the first time. No, not the first time, because I saw one in the 70s at Willowfield, but seeing Jakes coming up that hill, and he was there, and he was accosted by a number of lions. I would say some of the most ferocious lions in the jungle. These were not palace lions. He was surrounded by a number of ferocious lions with harsh countenances. Say, "Hey, white boy, you see here, hey, come for." And all kind of questions were being thrown at him. Behind him, he was in the middle, so there's a circle around him. And he was just there, looking around, trying to answer one question. Then another brethren would touch him from behind to ask another question. And I heard him, it's like he would hold his fist to gather the strength to say, "One sound I am." When I heard that, I said, "Yo, this white man know the protocols, that when in reasoning, it's a one sound policy." So when silence came with that command of one sound, one brethren feels that, "No, can't make a white man defeat people one sound. It's a many sound." So from that time, I met him then, and then later on, you know, just seeing him at different gatherings, and then in 1988 in the Toronto, America, that was then from that level. And I've seen him at many conferences, and I've seen his historic documentation of the elders. And sometimes when I need to find out where an elder would be born, Jake would have all that information. So I saw him as a resource person with more information that I could garnish from an individual than any other person I know. So Jakes is key to that in my view.
All right. So that is by way of introduction for Jake Homer. Jake, take it away now. You have a PowerPoint which is a year old. I think you're going to share screen, and IvI is going to use that to facilitate the rest of the conversation. All right, give thanks.
Well, give thanks, my brethren and sistren. You know, I said we do nothing at all before we call the name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile I Selassie I the First and Empress Menenaspa in balance to that. And that is something I've heard Ras IvI say many times himself when he is addressing public audiences. Just to say a little bit of our relationship, it is true that Ras IvI and I believe, laid eyes on each other first at the Golden Jubilee, St. Catherine, Angel Heights. But we have been on probably 4 continents together. We've been in Jamaica many times at Bingi. We've been in Barbados. We've been in Panama. We've been in California, South Florida, Washington, D.C. It's a long history of trotting together. And I always remember Panama in 2005, the first Rastafari Hispanic Summit. Ras IvI by that time was already on the advisory committee group for the Smithsonian's Discovering Rastafari exhibit. And I remember sitting between Bungo Shefan and Bungo Tani at dinner time, and Ras IvI comes over to us and sits across the table from me in a very conspicuous way, turns to me and he says, "Brother Jakes, we see the man's works have been upful for lo these many years. And we just want you to know the scrutiny does not stop, but keep up the good works." So that was, that was the way the whole thing evolved. And yes, I can't speak for Ras IvI. Somehow I feel the scrutiny is much less these days, but say His Majesty has eyes of lightning in the reasoning, and so to go. And we wouldn't have it any other way, because otherwise say we're not in the Nyahbinghi traditions if it don't go that way. So we give thanks. It is my pleasure to be here and to go through a PowerPoint that much of which was put together last year, but some refinements to reflect the theme of this reasoning, the celebration of Rastafari fatherhood in the Nyahbinghi traditions. The first thing we might go to here, and now that's very interesting. Why is my technology is always following me up? Because
you got
I
it, Jake.
say,
Your screen is being shared, yeah.
Okay, give thanks. I always say I come from the Mosaic tradition. I was from the time of Moses, and it's mostly tablets and stone for I. So, I make do with the PowerPoint as best I can. But with respect to His Majesty, many titles for His Majesty: King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Conquering Lion of the Tribe of Judah, the Prince of Peace, the Light of the World, First Ancient King of Iration, many, many titles. But in my grounding with Rastafari, the way in which I heard brethren and also sistren speak of His Majesty was really as Father. Me sit up and reason all day with Father. Me sit in with Father. When one or more are gathered in His name, He is in the midst. So we're there with Father. So Ras IvI, I wonder if you might penetrate this notion of His Majesty as Father, which I know plays on many different levels, not only Father of His own family, with sons, daughters, grandchildren, etc., but Father of the nations, if you will. So please take the floor on that.
Well, family, give thanks again. I see His Majesty's role as Father beginning early in his teens. I think at 13 years old, when no one could have Ras McConnell eating during the time when he was ill. The young Tafari would have walked up to his father, and with that steering, unique eyes and that compassionate voice, he would implore his father to have his meal. And, you know, Ras Makonnen would have gotten up and listened to the voice of his son. His son now playing the father role. You know, Makonnen now being the son, listening to his father, and got up and took his meal and ate. So I was seeing this young man, brilliant young man, imploring his father. Then, being the father, Ras Makonnen was here. It was his final moments. He was waiting in the departure lounge, but Tafari encouraged him to have his meal. And that's a father. And then we know His Majesty coming up and doing his role as prince in the many provinces until he got Harar. And just the way he governed, I mean, as father, they said his justice was like that of an angel. You know, and then in 1916, when he started, in 1911, when he married the beautiful Sarah Menon, then, you know, the father role now chipped in now, yes, being a father of his own children. And you know, that went right up to coronation, you know, when the Empress was pregnant with the final child, Saleh Selassie. So His Majesty's rule, and when you transact in all his state business, you could always hear children in the background. He was just father, and, you know, going out on his many journeys, he would stop to find out why a child wasn't in school, and he saw that those who were not physically able, those who were visually impaired, he built schools for them. So father of the nation, you know, father of all. Later on, he looked at the continent and saw that liberation is imperative and unity is imperative. So, you know, and then he put actions in place to make all that a possibility, a reality. So the father of the nation, the father of Africa, you know, all Africans at his 83 birthday came together and celebrated him as father of Africa, you know, founding father of African unity. So His Majesty played that key role as father, and then his example in terms of husband, wife relationship, that was so exemplary. It was exemplary throughout his reign. And in 1930, when he had her crown on the same day, it shows how important he endorsed family. If you look at coronation, it was mother, father, and child, yeah, at his grand coronation. And that was phenomenal, yeah. I imagine very historic, and you know that part His Majesty played. If you look at all the other African leaders and all, there's none you can compare in terms of Haile Selassie I as a husband, as a king, and to a queen, and as a father. Yes, that was exemplary, and we know that yes, His Majesty did play that role and played it expertly well as a good example for Rastafari.
So what I hear the eye saying, Ras IvI, is father is, we can't think just about father as one role, as though it's one thing. Father is a relationship, father to mother, father to son and daughter, father to grandchildren and the generations, father to the nation, exactly. The photo we're looking at right now, I pulled this out simply because this is when Fillmore Alvarenga, Douglas Mack, and Samuel Clayton, on their own journey to Ethiopia in 1964, met with the king. Actually, they spent, I believe, 6 months in Jubilee Palace at the hospitality of His Majesty. And I think it's significant that His Majesty is meeting them with what appeared to be 7 or so of his grandchildren, I believe. And I believe the youngest in the far left is Prince Ermias Saleh Selassie, who is well known in the community. Picking up on the father role, I'm reminded by oral testimony about His Majesty's visit to Jamaica, that when His Majesty visited Spanish Town, and there was all of this commotion as the train pulled into the station, His Majesty didn't spend long there, but the significant thing that he did, he disembarked his car, and there was a mother standing with her child on the platform, trying to get a close look at His Majesty. And His Majesty reached out for the child and took the child from her. Now, this is not the photograph on the list of that event, but it is emblematic of that moment. Why is it that father took the child? And it's interesting that this photograph, which I believe is actually a photograph from the late 50s of His Majesty holding one of his grandchildren, a grandson, it might again be Prince Ermias, is reproduced in Rastafari artwork here on the right by Ras Wittedred. But I've seen this father-child relationship artistically represented with His Majesty in other contexts. So I'm wondering, perhaps the giveaway here is actually in the part of the artwork that says Psalm 9. But I'm wondering, Ras IvI, how you might interpret that moment when His Majesty took the child at the platform in Spanish Town.
Well, as we all know, historically it was pandemonium in Spanish Town, because remember, the newspapers said they have to beef up security. The security forces of Panama, they have to beef up security because the Rassis are planning to kidnap the emperor. So at Spanish Town, there was a strong police cordon, but as His Majesty had advised that the Rastafarians must be present at every function he will have, there was a special area that was prepared for the Rassis, as Ras II would have sent to me in my discourse with Elder Patriarch Bonga II. And he said, when the emperor disembarked, what happened was that someone, an orange juice box or some fruit box fell from a tree with the many people who were in the trees and dropped on a police officer under a tree, and they started to tear gas, and that started a commotion. So when the king stepped on the platform, I saw that same police officer, the same judge who sentenced him just days before, that he would not have seen the king. But his lawyer appealed, and he came out and was able now to see that same man on the platform. And I was saying, His Majesty, this guy, him sentence me, you talk to King through divine Irish. Him sentence me, I wouldn't want you shake him, man, So I said, when the king stepped on the platform and the pandemonium started, a woman who was close up to the platform stretches her baby to the emperor. And to this day, I wonder, was it something that happened to the child? Why she wanted the emperor just to touch? You remember in the days of Christ's journey when people just want the Christman, the Nazarene, to just touch this child and he would be healed. And I'm saying, this child must be a big grown person since 1966. Now, can we find that child? Can we find that person? Because we might not be able to find the mother, but it would be nice just to, if the mother had recounted this story to this child in its upbringing. But I in my view, I felt that the mother had wanted Haile Selassie I to just touch this baby. And she stretched the baby to him, and I said the emperor took the baby in his arms. And then when the train was about to go, the emperor stretched the baby back to the mother. And I conclude in my meditation, that child was healed. Whatever that was, I felt that, yes, the child became whole. The Majesty returned, stepped backward onto the train, and the train went on its journey. So that's how I would see that moment, not being able to even talk to the mother, and then later on, we could find that child to say, what did your mother tell you about His Majesty holding you in his arms. That was a special moment for a child.
Give
And
thanks,
again,
brother.
and again, Jake, showing the fatherly instinct of His Majesty, that even in a moment like that, he found it so important to reach out for that child. You know, and whatever it was, he, after doing that, passed the baby back to the mother. So
Yeah,
very
man. Give thanks for that. That is there's another testimony that I have heard pertaining to the visit, where a child was stretched out to His Majesty and he touched the child. And the story afterwards was the child barely crawled. The child only crawled for a week. The child walked when it was just like 2 months old. So there was something in His Majesty's gaze and something in His Majesty's touch that changed everything. But I'm just riffing off of the piece of artwork there. I went to Psalm 9, and many of us would know Psalm 9 says, "Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, I shall ordain strength and wisdom." So I wonder if also, in addition to what was going on with His Majesty's touch, if he also wasn't sending a message about how one has to be redeemed in this world as a child.
Is that Psalm 9 or 8, Jake?
not 9.
I
It's
have
8.
it right. Oh,
Not
you're
9.
right. You're right. It is Psalm 8. Excuse me.
Yeah.
It is Psalm 8. Maybe I can't actually see the artwork. Does it say Psalm 8 on it? Or 9?
I know it's 9. 9 was what the elders who visited the king recited before his throne.
Okay. Well, you know what? Psalm 8 works too. So we give thanks for that. We give thanks for that. Moving on, here is just a few photographs of the Bingi man, the Rasta man, with his children. And years ago, it was written before I was ever trotting amongst Fari in 1980 onward. It used to be said in the 70s, it started to be said in the 70s, you never used to have a Rasta woman, you had a Rasta man's woman, until the Rasta woman, particularly in her dreadlocks incarnation, became known for who she is as part of this movement, as equally part of the movement to the man. Well, in the earlier days, you never really had a Rastaman's child being publicly visible. And these are some interesting photographs because Ras Dermanite, being one of these ancients that Ras IvI would have known only at the very end of his trod, is seen here with one of his grandchildren. Bungo Daniel at Bingi at Freeman's Hall, giving out free nana to the youth them, and Ras Iris with a youth at Bingi at Piscataway Reservation on the Indian Reservation in Maryland. Here we have Ras Judah with his youth in the hills of Bull Bay, and we have a scene in a meeting at Papine. This is School of Vision with Priest Dermot, and you see the child in the Rastaman's lap and other youth here in the meeting. You never used to have in the older period of 50s of street meetings, you had man and woman, but you mostly had man. Children would not have been publicly visible in the way they have become publicly visible today. So I don't know if you want to comment on that, Russ. I've kind of just pulled these together from the archives as something I thought is visually interesting.
But give thanks to this. But we have to remember early days, you have to prepare for run, because the police was always on the back. So it was a scary place to bring children out in a setting where the police can come any minute and you have to take up your drum and your Bible and run. It was not a comforting environment back then in those early days, yeah? But there was still family. Those families you mentioned, DX, yes, family becoming visible after a while in Rastafari, I would suppose, because the movement started out real tough and rough. Who dare a woman for coming in such hostile environment? When you can't walk the streets, you have to walk in a gully, you can't in group for woman. That is why every woman who takes this mantle for Rasta.
IvI, you touched it perfectly in the sense that in the late 40s, all through the 50s, and into parts of the 60s, Rastafari was a fugitive movement in Jamaica. It was, the accounts of people having to run, having the drums torn up, the table turned over, the portraits of His Majesty destroyed, etc. It was a fugitive movement. Truly.
Exactly. So it wasn't comforting to take the children on these missions. You have to go out there as lions and prepare for anything that happened. So the journey was not easy. Not that it was comforting later on, because even in the advent of my empress, it was still hard because families would not even want their daughters to enjoy themselves with Rasta, because then again, all them think about police are going to lock you up, God, they're going to Rasta man, God just smoking and this and that. And, it's not like families were scared of their daughters embracing Rastafari and suffering the trials, the persecution that was meted out to Rastafari, So up until now, we still have to give thanks to the sisters who embrace, because when the police, the security, those who came to attack us, saw women, heard the voice of women when they knock a door and hear an empress voice, that lessened the kind of brutality that would have been accorded to a one man in our house or two man in our house. Even driving in a car going to Bingi, and when them say family now, the police had to have a different approach than if it was just 6 Rastaman, 7 Rastaman in our vehicle going anywhere. The woman came and cushioned all this kind of persecution and attack on Rastafari. So the family structure played a key role in, bringing more semblance of respect to the movement, beauty, continue procreation, where we had children now. The movement started to have its own children, not just I and I who came out of the system and embracing Rastafari, but here we were raising our own children during that time. So we give thanks to the sisters. As we said, they added beauty, they added more seeds, more fruits from the vineyard. More children were now popping up all around. So at Nyahbinghi, we were so joyed to be there and to see other families. Bingi was the place to be. I mean, my children start pack bags before July. Now it's June, them are pack bags for July Bingi. Ready, because then they will meet Harry Lion family, Bongo Joe family, Rasaya Beef's family, Bongo Daniel family. Oh my, Bingi was this perfect meeting place for family and children. And then you see, and then going to Bingi now. And then at Bingi. I remember my daughter Isila finding Empress Baby Eye. I remember my Empress finding our sister Baby Eye, finding daughter Ivy, and loved her like that. And she was like a Rasta mother. So you go Bingi, go find your Rasta mother outside of the mother who gave birth to you. You go Bingi, go find your Rasta father. I just remember sitting with Bongo Puru them as priests and questioning Bongo Puru and biblical interpretations. So that was like, you meet your father now where you and him can sit and talk. Because that father out in Babylon, no, you can't have this kind of conversation with any father outside. So Nyahbinghi environment provided that perfect setting and becoming Rastafari and having an empress in by your side, then you find, yeah, that family structure at Bingi. I remember youths when Bingi seal up family. Youths hug and cried. Spending a nice summer now, oh my gosh, Monday morning, the Bingi I go seal up everybody, I pack up and I leave. I remember children crying because their best little Bingi time was coming to an end. So family vibes in Nyahbinghi was super great, yeah?
Well, Rastafari, you actually segued over into and covered much of what my next theme was going to be, which was how Bingi actually serves as this family setting, and
Oh,
how
yeah.
one finds father, mother, brother, and etc. within the house.
Yes.
That
Uncle, auntie.
there's actually the idea of kinship is born and sustained within the house. The idea that I and I are sons and daughters of His Imperial Majesty and Her Imperial Majesty is not simply fiction, it's a reality, because
Rastafari.
these relationships become ones of kinship.
I know.
I'm reminded of Mama Fire's story to me about how when she was living near Waterhouse and her mother was sick and then transitioned about, she was 13 or so, maybe 12, 13 years of age. So Mama Bubbles becomes the mother. And this is sustained through the Bingi groundations that are happening. Yes, all those, and the other person who's spoken in this same way to me is Mama Ifia. I don't even know if Mama Ifia is with us right now, but I had asked her also to be on as someone
She
who,
is, she's here with us. Yeah,
all
man.
right,
I should have acknowledged her.
okay, could we get Mama Ifia to kind of chime in on the thematics of, because she's part of these families that you would see at Bingi,
Yes.
etc. Mama Ifia, please.
So this is what man.
Mama
Oh,
Ifia,
Jakes, I'm not seeing her at this time.
okay, all right, we can move
But she
through on
was here
that.
earlier. Yeah, she was here earlier.
We can move through on that. I'm not sure what happened there, but so I'm in a series of slides now. You know, when we think about Ras IvI's career in the house, you're a father, you're a king man and a husband, you're a knitter. You've knit a whole kingdom, my brethren. You've knit a family together in more ways than one. You are a publisher, you're an author, you're a historian, you're a chronicler, you're an international ambassador, and greatest of all, you're a son of His Imperial Majesty. So, you know, there are many, many aspects to the man here, and I put together some of these slides that reflect the kinship, the family, the fatherhood, etc. You're a composer of chants and
And
a
before we go further, Brother Jakes, in that picture is my 4 sons, yeah?
sin.
And there's an elder with all his snow white eyesight.
Aye.
This is part of our Rastafari family. Ones become family even when we are not blood related. That elder we call Isla because he was so Isla. You know the word holy, Isla, hola. This
Isla.
brethren was Isla.
Bless.
This brethren, I met him in 1979 when he came to Hills, hearing about some rasses in the hills who was just doing great in terms of farming and Rastafari liberty to the highest. So he left Maypen and came to Hills and was among I and I. My daughter then was born in 79. in 78 in October. And we had a principle whereby when the child was born, the mother would stay indoors for a couple of months before coming out with the infant. That's over and done. I don't think no one maintained that kind of liberty, but our elders would have known how that was back in the day, for healing of the mother and the child not being exposed out there until the immunity is up. So I remember when she first came out to bring Isila out, Isla was in Hills. So that brethren on that picture who came to studio with us, we lived together like father and son. In my community, there's no one who I could tell that this brethren was not my father, because he played the role as a father. And when we were doing our history, he was the man on bass. So we are here at Tough Gun Studio now recording our second album titled Our History, and Ras Isla was there.
Blessed man. Give thanks for that. Just out of curiosity, was the daughter who was born in 79, Isilia, was she the one who was born at 78? Was she the daughter who was born at Ras IvI's Nyahbinghi?
No, we were so attached to Bingi Jakes that every Bingi we would have gone. The only time we would not have gone was when the time of separation would have come and the Empress would not be able to trot. And we're not leaving family behind when we're going to Bingi. When we're going to Bingi, we're taking the family and not having personal transport to a back seat of a bus to pack the sponge, the pot, the food, the everything, and ensure the children are comfortable going to Bingi. So when April 1985, Ras IvI was calling this Nyahbinghi and a conference at the same time, having a conference during a Nyahbinghi, ones coming from all parts of the globe to be at this Nyahbinghi in Beirut. So I said, Ras IvI, I can't make it on account of my Empress will give birth during that same time of the Bingi. So if it's not the 21st, it's 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, sometime thereabout in that week, I can't make it. IvI was so disappointed not having Ras IvI and family at the Bingi. Ras IvI said, Ras IvI, I'm going to check something out and call you back. So Ras IvI called me back and said, Ras IvI, I have secured a home not far from the Nyahbinghi Center. I have spoken to a midwife who is a registered midwife at the hospital in the community. I have spoken to a car driver who, when Daughter Ivy gives the call that it's time, this driver will be on the Bingi ground 24/7, ready to take her from the Bingi, just a couple chains away, but you have to go outside and go down the road. He would be ready to take her to the house, and the midwife would be there, and Sister Ivy would be able to give birth there. I said, Ras Ivy, what a proposal. You really want I to come, but this decision is not mine. I have to speak to the Empress on it. And she know from the look in my eyes and the way I brought it across to her that I would have loved to go. And she agreed. And at that time, a woman would want her own space than to journey on to a distant parish. But on account of the Bingi, and she knew my participation in the Bingi, how it would have been, and in the conference, she agreed. We went to the Bingi. We had all our things ready and prepared. But I remember one night in Bingi, this was like the 25th of April, the night of the 25th. We were in ISIS, and ISIS was going on, and the ISIS was so sweet. And then one of the youths came to me and said, Dad, Mom called you now. So I went to the tent and she said, it's time. And I knew her like that when she said, it's time, don't joke around. The time is the time. So I just said, Ivy, time. And boom, the driver was there. Boom, we were at the house. So while at the house and the midwife had everything in order, I went back to the Bingi. We were chanting. Now I'm chanting now, like Ras McConnell, to say, Your Majesty, please grant us another safe delivery. And we were there chanting, because then we had Icelia, we had Ivatan, we had Ikemai, and then the fourth child now we said, whoa, and we were praying and chanting. And then a divine iris meditation came to say, it's time to go and check on the Empress. So while I was going and passing, I entered the yard, but you have to walk at the side of the house to go to the room at the back. So it was a bit dark, but I knew the track, so I was just going. I saw the entire place lighted. So when I looked up, it was a shooting star. They call it meteor, whatever. We call it shooting star. A bright light was going across the sky, and I said, Selassie. By the time I reached the back, the door opened, and the midwife said, how you know when to come? You have a beautiful daughter. I said, Rastafari. So I named her Ibiba for boy. Lucky bird brings joy. So I went back to Bingi, to the tabernacle, and I was skipping like Menelik when he danced before the ark, rejoicing in the safe delivery of my second daughter. So that was it. But it was a commitment to the order that brought us to Bingi. And then we stayed over until the Bingi was sealed. Ras IvI provided transport that brought us back to Clarendon. So hence IvI became the father of Ibiba. So commitment was always there.
What a wonderful account. What an absolutely wonderful account. And here are your 4 daughters. Here on the other side are 8 of your grands, 8 of your now 15 grands, I believe is what it is.
Yes, we were at the Kwanzaa celebration, and we brought 8, not to stress the organizer to provide food for all the family, which had gone over in the 20s. So we just brought 8 grand, and we were there in Kwanzaa just recently, just last December. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So the 4 daughters with mom, we must say, give thanks. Mom with her 4 daughters, great mother, great empress, and in studio, they were a trouble in studio though, because oh my gosh, give thanks. Glenn Brownie was there as a father again in studio to ensure that they got the harmonies right and all. So we took a picture there, and ones who have listened to our history can know the joy we felt having 4 sons, 4 daughters with Ras Isla and another good uncle to the family, Ras Keith Lingo, who is a farmer over in St. Elizabeth. He was there on base too, and we had a great time. We even had another great moment because Mama Esther's daughter was there, and when we were short of a funde, we invited her to be a part of the drumming ensemble. So, family is just great, and we give thanks, yeah?
Give thanks. I think it bears pointing out, Ras IvI. I mean, I've been to Bingi enough times to know that the I and your family, Mama Ivy, and the I and your family are among the exemplary instances of Nyahbinghi families. I think of Mama Ashanti, Kongaraki and Mama Baby I, Bongo Eddie and Sister Ponce and Guys Hill. I think of Russ Daniel and his queen. But you're really among, and I'd be remiss to leave out Bingi Irie Lion and
Mama
Yanzi.
Yanzi. Oh,
Yeah,
yes. That was another part of our family. We were always together, one of the working families. Yeah, we were always together, working together, making sure things happen. Irie was a motivator, and he would invite the children to be a part of every function we were having. They were forefront in the Amarek and the presentation, along with my children on the many platforms in Mandela Park, in St. William Grand Park. We were just, family that brightens family life within Nyahbinghi order. And we give thanks. I mean, today when I'm looking around and not seeing as many families in Bingi, it kind of dampened the spirit, and I'm wondering, what is the younger generation doing? Are they not bringing mothers, empresses in the house with dreadlocks and bearing children? I mean, the sanctification has lessened. We're not seeing the many sanctification we were accustomed to at Bingi. So, the younger generation just need to take stock of what is happening. I'm not sure.
Well, I think in pointing out the fact that the I and Mama Ivy are, like others that I have noted, a model for the Bingi House as family. That model is clearly coming from His and Her Majesty. And I think yes, that we need to remind ourselves of the model and what is happening today. If we get off on that tangent, the assessment of whither go Rastafari and Nyahbinghi, that's a whole other program. So we're just some slides that I prepared here. You're not only a knitter, my brethren, you're a musician and a drummer. You've got 2 CDs out there. You're a publisher. The 1990 Centenary Trad Report. It's in the archives at the Smithsonian. That's how I have it.
Give thanks,
and of course the CDs, which are out there. I mean, I think that these CDs, wasn't the Ark of the Covenant CD actually recorded in London?
In London, yes. I was in London after Centenary time, and I met a Rastaman who said to me, he does performances, and he said, Rastaman, I just love the way you play the drums, the way you chant, and I would want to have you record some Nyahbinghi songs with me. And I said to him, my brethren, it is not my will. I will never record a song that I went to Bingi and heard and to have it on the market like that. I consider the chants coming in that I came and saw at Bingi to be chants of the order, and I will not. So I won't join you on that. But if you want, I have a number of chants that I have written out of inspiration that I would engage you in recording if we can have that agreement. And I said, Black Liberation Day is one. And he said, you wrote Black Liberation? I said, yes. And he said, oh my gosh, did you register it? Because I have done it on BBC Channel 4. I have done it on so much medium that you will be collecting royalties. I said, no, my brethren, when I wrote Black Liberation Day, it was just out of preparing to go to Pit 4 for Black Liberation Day. And I was always thinking, why do we have Black Liberation Day annually? And there is not a chant for Black Liberation Day. So I wrote Black Liberation Day, and we sang it on the train going to Mobile, and when Bongo Joe Bongo Man picked us up at the train station, we chanted it right into the tabernacle, and we didn't even pitch with tent nor take our bags off. We went in on the 25th of May and chanted Black Liberation Day like that in the tabernacle for the first time. But the old vibration came to write sacred chants of the order, Jakes. I remember coming from Orange Bay, Bingi, at one time, and we were playing our tape in the yard at Barbican. And the IvI chant was pounding because, we love those churchical chants. The elders would have known the words, but we did not. So we were chanting, I, 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 I. But our mother came around, and when the chant started, she was saying, there is a green hill far away. So I turned around and looked at her and said, Tal, you know them chant from? She said, wait. So I remember, so when we usually go to church, we usually sing them song. Let me go for the redemption song. And she come back and showed us the word. The words of the chant, there is a green hill far away without a city wall where Jesus Christ was crucified. He died to save us all. So I said, is this what we were chanting at Bingi all the time with these I melodies? I felt a little embarrassed. I said, you mean let the church and the church sang then still follow me come a Bingi? I said, no, I think the Nyahbinghi should have its own hymnal. And that was what sparked my interest in writing sacred songs for the order. I felt that a change had to be made. And I think the first chant I wrote was Hosanna in 1980. 1980, and we were at Angelize, but then to rise a chant that the elders did not know in Nyahbinghi was like, you're presumptuous. Who are you, young man, you want to come chant the elders not know? So what I did strategically, because I had my brother Ibo, Ras Ivo, and we had all our other brethren from Beer Clarendon with us and all, we would have done a little rehearsal outside Tabernacle. And we would have waited till the wee hours after 12, after 2 going in the morning when Bongo Tony and all the elders had done their session prior to Bongo Gabby coming in early morning. We said, wow, that's the prime time. So we went in and Hosanna, Hosanna unto the King of Kings. So that was how we infused the new chants into Nyahbinghi. And then later on, the elders, I felt they love it. Bongo Daniel loved when I came with this one, said, every time I chant Nyahbinghi, I want ya do my yard. Until these songs became hymnals of the order, spreading globally, So that was how these albums came up. It was out of wanting to do songs that came out of the bowels of Rastafari, our own reality, our own thinking, yeah? Not that some of these traditional chants were not important, but your own is your own. Because I'm always sometimes embarrassed when we go in public and you sing the same song the church sing, and the church just say, but we know the song, yeah, man. Then the rest of them take with chant and take Jesus out right and put in Rasta. I was proud when I said Black Liberation Day, or when I say proud to be black, I am an Ethiopian. And the chants carried a message, a profound message. Our history spoke of the historical events in Rastafari, in Africa, slave ship, Battle of Adwa, 1916, the coronation of Rastafari, and the enthronement of Empress Zadi II, coming up into the coronation 1930, coming up 1963, the Coral Garden incident, 1966, the visit of His Majesty. These chants that speak to these chronological events that feel good about it, having family, and there's a lot more to come,
Well, let me make an observation here that clearly your fathers in Nyahbinghi, the elders and patriarchs in Nyahbinghi, taught the eye something independently from your own inspiration. You know what I think that was? It was patience and timing. Time does everything. So you knew when to carry those chants into the tabernacle. You exercise discernment and patience in doing that. Because I will tell you now, 2 chants you just come with to me, every time I yant Nyahbinghi and Black Liberation Day.
Yes, sir.
When the elders came in 1989 to the Folklife Festival, those were among 2 of the chants that were most popular that were sung. In fact, the elders sung Black Liberation Day
on their album
for the paramount chief of the Ga people of Ghana, who arrived at the festival the final day, and that was part of the sealing of that event. So one other observation I want to make is when the names of the greatest Nyahbinghi virtuoso master drummers are called, you're in that lineage. And also your brother Russ Ibo is in that lineage, because from Pa Ashanti to Congo Daniel to ones like Tawny and perhaps Brother Jack Chambers from the Montego Bay area, who are among the esteemed drummers, you're in that same lineage. So you pick up the rhythm structure that the you don't hear it, it's born in you, man. You feel it. I think one of your daughters said something to that effect as well. But these CDs are a testament to the kind of things I'm talking about. It's also a testament to your discernment with respect to the intellectual property of the community. You didn't
Yeah,
come out with chants that were their chants, even though they might have been appropriated from,
yeah,
from
derived
the
from,
church. You
yeah.
basically wrote your own chants.
Yes, yes. And as you mentioned, playing the harps, I always give credit to my daughter, Celia, eldest daughter. I remember coming from Bingi, having drums, and was just trying to get into playing a repeater. And she shake her head sadly and said, "Oh, Dad, so you do it." And she took the drum and she said, "You have to go on you have to do the funde, and then you go on the edge and te-te-teng, te-teng, te-teng, teng." So Celia, my eldest daughter, showed me the moves on the drum. And then from there, I was brave. I was getting there. So we have to give credit where credit due, because the daughters would have, she mastered the art, but not permitted at Bingi. She would say, "Dad, this is how it is done." And then the youths continue. The grandsons, they are all in it. So it's just what you do at home. And Nyahbinghi is like a brethren of asked me, "Yes, I would teach them youth to play the drum." I've never told one of them how to funde. It is what they see, is what they live, is their own reality. I remember Ibiba became ill, and she was in Mandeville. She was at Hargreaves Hospital. And when she was recovering, the nurse reported that this baby was always doing this. And what it was a 1-2. The infant are recovering, but she was playing a 1-2. And I said, "Oh, that's the drums." She was just playing the beat of the Nyahbinghi. So
The heartbeat.
it's an inborn thing, yeah?
Conception. Yes, I give thanks. Russ, I realize that, the pace at which we're moving here, given all the slides that I have and other things, we're not going to, we won't get all
We're
this.
not going to get through. It's going to take a whole
No.
year.
No, it took years to begin with, but so I just want to reframe for a moment and say what we've been speaking of is a lot of it is kind of the manifestations of fatherhood within the Nyahbinghi house as we know it in Jamaica. But I had also said at the beginning among all of the things that the I represents, you are an international representative, an international coordinator and activist for the Nyahbinghi house. Among other things, I believe it was a trod perhaps to Saint Lucia back around 1986 that made the eye conscious of the fact that as Bingi has gone out, its codification needs some correcting. So I know you've been on that, the textualizing of the code and the protocols of Nyahbinghi. But I wanted to turn a little bit to the international scene and maybe the kind of thoughts you might share about how fatherhood ramifies out into the whole international world. because you've been on trides with some of the most significant patriarchs. In this slide, we have Ras Bonerjee on the far left. This is the 86 trod to
St. Lucia.
Rastafari.
No,
Yes.
that's UK. Yeah, that's
This
the
is
UK. This is
yeah,
the
this is
first.
the UK.
This is
This
the
is
first time I left Jamaica.
you're trotting, yes, I.
Yeah, after coming here on the slave ship in the bowels of our
Aye.
ancestors. This was the first time now I left Jamaica. Give thanks for the Rastafari Advisory Service. Give thanks also to Ras Bonerjee. Ras Bonerjee was close to the family. I mean, Ras Bonerjee, I think, loved us as brothers. We were living in Barbican. He was just up in Augustown there. And, you know, seeing us at Bingi, we were always, you know, in prophecy and all. Kojo was one who inspired us in the Kebranagas because he had those books and all. So we were always reading. Bongo Water, I think, found information among us because we were always sitting, reading during Bingi, going to tabernacle together, holding nice vibes. So he was attracted to us. So when the call came, Ras Bonerjee selected myself and Ras Ivor to accompany him to the UK. And you know, at that time, we were dubbed Ras Bonerjee and the Angels.
Okay.
I said, wow, that was the UK community saying, oh, Ras Bonerjee and the Angels. So we went there. It was Caribbean Focus 86, and inside Caribbean Focus 86 was Rastafari Focus 86. So we traveled with Ras Bonerjee to the UK. We tried, I mean, Simba meeting other sisters. I mean, Sister Livette, Sister Waletti meeting, Sister Benji. Oh, it was, you know, just meeting Rastafari now in a global space, you know, going to St. Agnes Place, seeing ones at Ethiopian World Federation, seeing them with the big bass drum. It's like, wow, Bingi not just in Jamaica, going up to Rosa and seeing Ja Bones and all, you know, meeting Ja Blue. My brother then was in England, you know, and he was an activist in England among Pinto Fox and all, and meeting Crown Prince Asper Wasson. They were integral in demonstrating when, you know, the police was trimming Rasta in Jamaica. My brother was part of a demonstration against the Mengistu regime, featured on one of the big tabloids with a big Ethiopian flag. So going to the UK at that time is like family vibe, meeting races now, but now you hear intellectuality in Rastafari now, coming from another generation, coming from some elders who were, you'd say, highly educated, Ja Bones, Pinto Fox, and others, you know, Ja Blue and all. But it was really a great moment at Rastafari Focus. We met other ones from the Caribbean, Bongo Wisely, Ras David, Sebastian. It was really a nice thing because it brought Rastafarians from the Caribbean, and it brought all the different cultures. You know, Capo was there from Jamaica, that artist. It was really a nice moment. Brother Historian and all came up, and the big thing about it, Ras Historian and all, they brought a banner that said, "Kill apartheid everywhere," starting here with an arrow pointing to the map of Jamaica. And I don't know who climbed the Commonwealth Institute building and placed the flag at the highest peak of the building. So when the British authorities saw the flag, they took offense to that banner. Who dared them to come? Remember, those days, England was apartheid. Yeah, they were supporters of apartheid. They were part of and parcel of apartheid in South Africa. So they thought the banner was very offensive. I remember while we were on stage, this very moment on stage, Ras Bonerjee on bass, I'm on a repeater, Ras Masimba behind me with the flag, Ras Vita's banner in the background. We were chanting and saw men in coats coming inside the building. And then I saw whispering going on. I recognized that these guys look like KGB boys, some security guys, only to find a whisper coming to us. These are these are police officers. They cried, and they said the banner on the outside must be taken down. You know, that created a scare. And they start, you know, we chant a switch to apartheid have to move, apartheid have to move, apartheid have to move, it have to move. So at the present,
when Rastafari ready, it happy
it have to
move.
move. So we start some repeater to make them guys know, say, listen, we know the apartheid support. Get out of here. So, you know, they went back outside and the sister told them, listen, I don't know who put it up there, you know. So you can move it. If you want it to be removed, it's up to you. So they sent for a fire truck, and you know them have the tallest ladders. So the banner was removed and returned to us. They said the banner carried political statements that should not be there. So it was the Nyahbinghi, you know, the fire as ever going in the heart of Babylon and burning apartheid, not just in England, but the arrow pointing started here in Jamaica, because then Rassids felt that, yes, certain things that was happening in Jamaica was also a legacy of apartheid. So that was the trad, 1986, the first trad where I met Rasta Gassa. At that time, he was in preparation to go to Ethiopia when the Mengistu regime was in its height.
Here is the challenge for us. Here is the challenge for us. Of all the trads there have been since, you know, we talk, if we look at 1975 when Ras Bonerjee first went to Barbados, then 83 when Bonerjee's Bongo Time and Pa Ashanti went to a few of the smaller islands in the Eastern Caribbean. Of all the trads there have been, I don't think the I missed but one or two of them, maybe three possibly. So it's a whole long story, but as you're telling this account of the anti-apartheid banner being raised at Rastafari Focus at the Commonwealth Institute, I'm reminded of how you know rich these events are when family comes together, when Jamaica is influencing what's happening not only in the Caribbean but you know in the communities in England, on the continent, etc. When are you going to write the book, my brethren? When will I write the book? Because these are the kind of accounts that we don't get. It's only from ours. You're an elder now. You're moving toward patriarch status now. When are we going to get the book that actually it's part of your legacy that you need to give? I'm putting you on notice now, my brethren. It's part of your legacy that you must leave the book for the community in the same way, you know, say, I must leave all of my papers for the community too. So
I say quickly, Jakes, because I see time running, and this whole discourse look like it will take us into the entire week.
No, we'll be here next Friday.
Yes, yes, Jakes, I've started. I think I reached where I just entered high school, because I started it from birth, come right up, and you know, and I'm now at high school at St. Andrew Technical. I haven't found the time to just put this thing together. Till one time I said, it looks like I have to have my daughter interview me on camera, and I just talk this old story, because writing, you know, you have to really find the time. But you know, like we're saying it now, I could have said so many things, but I started the writing. I think I took some time while on Jamrock cruise in my cabin and during daytime, not being entertained too much, but start writing my memoirs from childhood in Barbican, and I'm now at high school. That's where I stopped, at high school.
Well, it sounds like progress is being made, so we're going to let you off the hook for at least a moment. Here's a slide.
I'm just encouraging one to keep saying it to me so I can take it from there to the next level.
All right. Okay. Here's a slide showing some of your knitting, but this is a trod in, I think this is a trod to St. Lucia in 86 or 87, where you knitted everyone.
In 1986.
86. You knitted everyone these you know, ganzis, these sweaters to wear on the trod in red, gold, and green.
Oh, yes. We were, after coming from England in 1986, we came back in the summer, and then St. Lucia now was opening a tabernacle. They were having a mini summit among all the other Caribbean islands coming in. And, you know, Bongo Wisely, who met us in England, Bongo Wisely was in the forefront of helping to organize, and with others, Sister Sheba, Empress Deer, and others. And, you know, Ras Bonagees now saw us as a great team. So we went out. Ras Isla was there too, you know, as that father figure we had.
Nice.
And we went out there. Ras Bonagees like to pick his team. It's like he's going to look for an all-rounder. You know, he's going to pick the best team, ones who will know will represent, ones, you know, who have discipline. You know, because you can't go with Bonagees if you're not a disciplined man.
Yes,
you know,
truly.
You have to be a man of prophecy. You have to be a man of good standing to accompany Bonagees anyway. So we were, and I figured that, well, it would be nice if I could just make these sweaters. So I put the meditation in, and we made those sweaters with those beaver felt hats, and it's like, ooh, we were just looking great when we appeared, you know. Strangely enough, after coming from England and then going to St. Lucia, we were stopped at the airport. One rigmarole with the immigration at the airport, and we have to be saying, listen, if you check our passport, we're just returning from the UK where we got 6 months automatically, and we are here in St. Lucia only to spend a few days, and you guys are giving us problem like that, you know. And then later on, they took the passports and let us in, you know, but when the brethren them link with the commissioner of police, who they said is only the commissioner of police can release back our passport, the commissioner apologized. He called us in office and he apologized for what, you know, we went through. Because, you know, what was there for Rasta move from one island to the next island was a big problem. You know, I'm not sure if they were thinking that, oh, we come in for Rasta size, the place turn all of the picking them in a Rasta. Oh, Rastas were there before we arrived, because as President Kaunda had said when he came to Jamaica, I did not send Rastafarian preachers come to my country, but everywhere I look, there are Rastafarians all around. So the natural mystic was flowing in the air. The Nyahbinghi music was going across the globe on tapes and cassettes and all. And then these global trad now, where the physical, the bass fund, the kete, the chant, the tabernacle were rising up, you know. But going to these gatherings now, we notice shortfalls, because we saw at one time we were having a meeting, a Sunday like this, and I saw the rain was just doing, and when I looked, the sisters were coming up under the tabernacle to escape the rain with their babies and themselves. And when I look inside, it was all male inside the tabernacle. I said, Bunga Time, haven't you noticed that the sisters are not in the tabernacle? No, Bunga Time, you need to invite the sisters in and ask the brethren them to get up and give the sisters the seats, because something is happening here. And Bunga Time readily. That was the spirit of myself and these elders. I think they listened to me and I listened to them. And, you know, and if they are not in agreement, I would not be harsh. I would just, you know, that it's time they come around to this reality. But Bunga Time accepted, and he did just that. And the next day, some sisters walk up to Bunga Time and say, Bunga Time, you didn't know what you did for us last night. It was the first time we were invited in like that. And they were so gratified. So on account of that and more things that I heard from Rastas in the different regions, I said, no, we need to put together a guideline that would teach Rastas globally how to practice Nyahbinghi. Because in St. Vincent, we heard that brethren said they were burning fire key non-stop, because they heard that the fire cannot be put out after the Bingi has ended. And one brethren said, Aya, we nearly burnt a whole forest, Aya, trying to keep that fire ablaze. You know, we heard some brethren say, Aya, we taught to be a Nyahbinghi fireman, you have to eat a lot of ipa in your food. And sometime when we went to the bathroom, oh, it was fire down there. But Jakes, let me cut, because I see Prince David Makonnen.
I want to move to your international royal family relationships here, because the following year, 1987, you're playing a major role in the organizing of the centenary for the Garvey centenary, August 17th, 1987. And that's the
yes.
same year that Prince Dawit comes to Jamaica, and you're
In the
meeting
month
with
of
Prince
March.
Dawit. So
Yeah.
maybe a few words on that.
All right, quickly. Russ IvI was integral also, because we had a working team. Russ I rely on, Batlocks, motivator, coordinator. IvI was that kind of spirit. So we were planning together. IvI was a part of that too. You know, we always, come together and plan these events. You know, at times we had one elder who was an obstacle in the path of this Garvey centenary, because he was adamant that Garvey said some harsh things about His Majesty. But I would say to Bongo Devon at the time, but remember, His Majesty laid a wreath at his shrine. So His Majesty, in fact, forgive him. I mean, brothers have quarrels, and Garvey had, a perception of something that, wasn't well thought about. But no, Garvey work, man, Garvey's work is so important. We must celebrate Garvey's centenary. And that elder, I think he went to bed and probably had a nightmare, and he prophesied of an earthquake that would happen when we were celebrating the centenary. And we had a great centenary occasion. My daughter was born in that one. My next daughter was born in that same year. That prevented me from going all around the island. But we were in Mandela Park. It was closed, but it was open to us for refurbishing. But we were there for the Garvey, and Nyahbinghi was at Bath next door to the police station. Ganja was burned freely. The youths in that community was, oh my gosh, Rasta burned Ganja right next door to the police station. That is great. But 87 now, in that same year, Prince Dawit McConnell, the grandson of His Imperial Majesty, was to visit Jamaica. Oh, that was special. And then at that time, we had formed the no, we didn't form the EIUC as yet, because it was his presence there that created that representative body. So Prince Dawit was in Jamaica. It was met at the airport. We had official trod with him, royal. I remember we going to Jamaica House with Prince Dawit. Just imagine, Rastafari with the royal prince of Ethiopia. We felt so good. This was the young man who was with His Majesty 1987. He was only 7 years old at the time in 1966. Now a grown man. We went up to Jamaica House to see Prime Minister Siaga. When I went to Jamaica House, and Sister Imani, if she's listening, she can recall that moment so vivid. And others who were there, Ras IvI, we went there. And when I walked in the hall of Jamaica House, where we would have met the Prime Minister, I looked on the walls and I did not see a picture of Emperor Haile Selassie I. And I questioned it in my thought, how then the only king to visit Jamaica House, to visit Jamaica, his photograph was not there among all the other visitors to the island I'm seeing on the walls. So I took note of it in my thought. I mentioned it not to anyone, only to find Madam Babsy Grange came in and she said, okay, I will. She thanked us for, having brought His Highness to Jamaica and brought him to see Prime Minister Siaga. So she was going to give him a phone call. He's in a meeting, and to usher him if he would come to meet with the royal. It was Prince Dawit McConnell, Prince Tamrat, and I think another Prince Beckery or some other royal member. So I said, wow. I was just observing inside. So later on, Prime Minister Siaga came. We were having discussions with Madam Grange prior to and all. I remember at one time she said, Your Highness, I don't think you should consider repatriation from a sentimental point of view, because Ethiopia needs skilled people. So Prince Tamrat interjected by saying, well, we're skilled or not skilled, we are Ethiopians. And as Ethiopians, they have a right to return home. It is heaven to come there and eat the bananas and the papayas and the nuts and enjoy the hot springs of Ethiopia. And we say, yes, yes. We felt so good to hear Prince Tamrat saying that on our behalf. Later on, Prime Minister Siaga came. He stood at the door And he did the same thing I did when I stood at the door. He looked at the walls. So I pointed to him and said, it's not there. And he looked at me. And I said, I told you it's not there. And he looked at the walls right round. And then he looked back at me and then he bent down to Babs, who was sitting there, and said, where is that picture I had with Emperor Haile Selassie? She said, no, it's not there. It's at Vale Royal. And I looked back at him and said, I told you it's not there, with a smile. Because it's like I read his spirit. The first thing he would want to do was to show an acquaintance with His Majesty.
Certainly.
But I stopped him in the track. So Prince David McConnell was here with us. We brought him up to see the Prime Minister. We brought him to the Haile Selassie School. You know, we questioned why a picture of the Emperor is not there. We brought him out to Portland. We had a great time with Prince David. And then Prince David had called for a meeting of Rastafarian leaders. The amount of Rassis that showed up out by Victoria Pier, out there, or by it was one of those centers. Who remember what it was? An institute. It was right there. And we had a meeting there. The meeting was jam-packed. Rassis from all over. It's like an entire island converged on the African Caribbean Institute there. And when David saw the numbers, we gathered inside. It was jam-packed. And then we saw some other Ethiopians coming in. And you know, you can recognize Ethiopians. And there was a whisper to David. And quick time, we heard that David had to be removed. And because we were intimately close, we heard that the KGB was spying in on David, you know, and that security had to be beefed up. So they hushed David away. But not before. We planned a meeting now of just two representatives of the Rasta community to meet at 133 Tower Street in the office of Brother Miguel, where we would have a meeting, an executive meeting. There was where we established the Ethiopian International Youth Committee. And I remember my beloved elder Shadrach. You know, one can remember Shadrach at the airport with his regalia dancing in that video at the airport, 1966. Shadrach, when David mentioned Ethiopia, Jamaica Unification Committee, David said, no! So David was frightened and looked at the elder and said, we are not Jamaicans. And Prince David smiled. He said, we are not Jamaicans, we are Ethiopians, with a stern look on his face. David smiled and nodded his head and said, my father, I suggested a name. If we are not in tune with the name, let's talk about a name that we all agree on. And that was how the Ethiopian International Unification Committee came about. And from that, we established a Rastafari newspaper, Rastafari International News, and I became the featured writer. I think my first article was the Grand Coronation in that newspaper. And, you know, from that time, I was so obsessed with the crowning of His Imperial Majesty. So David's coming to Jamaica was awesome. And then we met him now in 1988 in the largest delegation of Rastafari sons and daughters who left Jamaica. Oh, this picture, JX, tells a whole lot because it was also featured in Rastafari International News because I wrote an article that covered the visit. While we were coming through custom, all the custom officers converged to one side and beckoned us to go through. We had a clear passage through Kennedy Airport that day in May when we arrived in New York to be met by sons and daughters, Sister Desta, I mean, you know, Sister Coochie, Sister Ofuru, Sister Isis Miller. Now, we saw so many Rasses in New York. We said, wow, yeah, Rasta gone. My brethren, I would have said skywide, Rasta global. There's no speech nor language where his voice is not heard. Rasta encompassed the globe now because the amount of young Rastas we saw vibrant, ready, red, gold, and green flag. We were so joyed to meet with the community there in New York. You know, we had a royal motorcade from there now into Harlem. Woo. And from then on, I mean, that trad, I think, was a trad that, you know, injected a Nyahbinghi presence in New York, and, you know, and the institutions that we visited, the John Hopkins, Southeastern, Smithsonian. We went to the Ames of Mazawe African Center. I mean, we went to Malcolm X Park, Jason, and you remember that motorcade for Black Liberation Day in 1988.
I do.
When we went there, and we were in defiance because the organizers did not show a picture of Emperor Haile Selassie on the stage, and we refused to go on stage because we said we ain't going on any stage for African liberation and a picture of the emperor is not there. And the organizers said, no, it's everyone who came, brought a picture of whatever Pan-Africanist they felt play a role. So we brought the picture of Haile Selassie, and it was great. Howard University was the place. It was the place when we went there, we met Dr. Thomas Battle. And I remember Dr. Thomas Battle saying, my elders, I'm like an empty cup, empty vessel waiting to be filled. And I said, what? You mean this learned professor in the presence of Rastafari is acknowledging that he's an empty vessel waiting to be filled with knowledge from the elders?
Well, let me just jump in here on this one screenshot, because here we have the elders in the Moreland Spingarn Special Collections and Archives of Howard University. We see Bungo Joe holding the processional cross that was gifted by His Majesty, Bungo Tawny with the staff, Binky Irie Lyons with the illuminated Gee's Bible.
Okay.
The illuminated Gee's Bible, that I make note of this because this is 1988. In 2007, when we opened the Discovering Rastafari exhibit at the Smithsonian, where most of these ones were there present, as well as the ISELF, this Bible was on the triptych at the front of the whole exhibit, right beneath the large His and Her Majesty photograph, coronation photograph. So this is a historic shot. I would tell you that the last time that Bible was exhibited was in 2007 to 2011. And that's the last time, because there was a major exhibit on Ethiopia in Baltimore recently, and they couldn't get that Bible for the exhibit. So this was a totally historic moment. I see that we have Mama Ifia on the screen here. Greetings, Mama Ifia. I don't know if you want to jump in and say a few words here. We missed you earlier when I called for some words, but feel free.
And if I may, Sister Ifia, we were talking about family in Rastafari, and your family was I Rely on Mama Yanzi, the I them, I and I together. Bingy, we were talking about the family vibes we had when Bingy sealed up how you all would cry, not wanting to leave, because the identity was so profound, it was such a joyous occasion. So I don't know if you want to take it up from there, and then you can just, go.
Yes, I give thanks. Yes, I perfect love in the house. Give thanks and Isis, I'm more. Give thanks and Isis for this day, and give thanks and Isis for another opportunity for I to get things better than I did yesterday. Yes, give thanks through the iris of Isis, IvI, Haile Selassie the First, and Most Royal Highness Empress Menen Asfa. Yes, I was listening to the I from the almost from the beginning, just a few minutes after the beginning I signed in. But it's really an honor to hear I speaking on this topic, beautiful and joyful in my iris. I had sent it to my brethren and my sister and also my siblings for them to listen in, because in 1980 was when my youngest sister, Aisha, was born, November, when I and I was celebrating the Golden Jubilee up there in Angel Heights. And Bingy was up there and he was so engaged. And Mama Yanzi was getting ready they were looking for him and he was on the drums and couldn't find him. And yeah, but the family wood in Rastafari that embodies the loin from the man into the wombfulness is really something that have grounded I and I who were connected. And I understand from an heretical and probably psychological perspective, the family orientedness that their Majesty Haile Selassie I had ordained through the coronation of their divine majesties, him and her. And from a young age, I kind of did recognize it, but probably wasn't able to explain it at the time. But it's true as I buy. Nyahbinghi at the time when I and I were youth, I remember the I and Mama Ivy. Mama Ivy was pregnant with Icelia. And I was so amazed because I and I were experiencing so much things in the school system as youth in Jamaica. You know, it was so unkind and inhumane the way in which they dealt with I and I. And so when I saw a young family, Rastafari family, I saw Bongo Joe and daughter Judith at the time when they were just getting involved with their one another, it seems like. And it was a Nyahbinghi. I don't know if it was down in Clarendon, where there was a lot of crabs. And I remember the both of them, where a lot of crabs were on that Bingy ground. I don't know if it wasn't out in Bulby.
Clarendon.
It seemed like it was in Clarendon.
Yes,
But
Clarendon,
anyway,
down in there. Yes, Clarendon.
Yes. I remember that Judith and Bongo Joe, they were so very young, and I admire them the same way I admire the I and Mama Ivy pregnant with Icelia. It was such a joy to my heart, you know, and it impacts ones in different ways. These are memorable moments, and when the youth them coming in, Aishiwawa and Aishiwawa first, and then Aishama. And I was traveling a lot with Bingy Irie, and sometimes my other sisters weren't able to come, and Mama Yanzi, because it seemed like the children were coming so fast. It seemed like all the time she had to be at home because, as I rightly said, when the mother give birth especially to the female, you have to stay a little longer at home, etc., and depending on the time that the youth is born, it determine when you go forward to the Nyahbinghi, right? So I would go to either Mama Ivy or Sister Yvonne, that is Aishiwa and Aisha, my mother, or even Sister Annette with Bongo U at the time. That was another thing that I keenly observed, the concept of the polygamy, which I didn't know about it at that time. But it's true. Daughter Benji, Felicia, Sister Yvonne Gale, Escali Selassie, her children, and there is children, I and I, Oliver and Bongo Daniel, as I rightly said earlier, you know, was such a comfort zone for I and I, because I and I know once we leave the Nyahbinghi, I and I had to encounter the system who didn't understand I and I, and they dealt with I and I, as I said, so unkind sometimes for no reason, you know. And so I and I's family was right there in the Nyahbinghi ground. The fathers would trad with their children. Sometimes the mother, probably if they're coming from outside of Rastafari, they wouldn't want to trad with the brethren. So sometimes the brethren end up with the children or with the child, and you would see the father treading with him youth and really caring for him youth, etc., etc. And that was a common case in the community. So I would admire when a man and a woman trod together and they were able to trad within the Rastafari wholesomeness and, you know, bring the youth them in and so on. And you could see the whole consolidation in recognizing the family-orientedness that their Majesty Haile Selassie I had set from 1930. So it's true, it's beautiful. I and I were very engaged in the community. Rastafari children, my family, Bingai wrote the Amharic play that every time anything happening inside of the community, particularly Nyahbinghi, Bingai would make sure that we go up on the stage and go perform this thing that he wrote a play about someone seeking job opportunity. And so he wrote it in Amharic. And so my sisters and I would go up there. One of the time we were so tired of it, we were like, we're not doing it, we're not do that. But as we grow older, we realize and recognize how important that foundation that has been laid, you know, by nice mothers, matriarch and patriarch, mama, baby, I, Bongo Rocky, you know, that union, even though they had their challenges, looking from the outside in, it was a majestic unity that I saw that reflected the king and the queen from an ancient perspective. So that is what ground I, some of I and most of I. So we give thanks for that. And you know, there were other parts of it too that probably sometimes wasn't so very pleasant. And I guess it's because of I said a word came up on the screen just now, but the abuse, the systematic abuse with our family, especially our man, it kind of have an impact on the way in which they did their fatherhood. Sometimes it was so rigid, you would say you didn't like it, you didn't like being into the community if you didn't understand it from an heretical perspective, you know, because they were, I remember Marcus, Ras Marcus and Randy, Ras IvI, that is Marcus' father.
Yeah.
Marcus, yeah, I remember him because they stayed at I Gates for a little at one point, and Marcus was a little youth man at the time. And he was so serious as Marcus with the energy and the elements that I remember one at the time, Marcus stand up in the sun and looking up in the sun, and he wouldn't allow Marcus to move. And the chat was so rigid with them. I remember Bongo I telling me in recent years how he's feeling so lonely and he wish he had his family with him. I think him have one youth. And him said that him told him family from the get-go when he started treading Rastafari that it's a suicidal trad and they couldn't come with him because he knew how the system was onto him and wanted to get rid of them. Because like Rasa Yentan would say, you know, they run away much time from home because their family did not understand the trad and this part of our African expression, and also even our grandparents with Bingi Ira especially, they denied him, and so I weren't able to engage them on the level in which a grandparent's supposed to be engaging their grandchildren. So but the energy of Rastafari, Rasaibai, the I, Bongo Joe, Bingi Ira, Mama Yanzi, you know, many others, Bongo Herman and daughter Ruby, all of these ones, and the presence of certain ancient like Mama Daphne, Mama Baby I, Bongo Igos, and even this up in Angelites there, the family, Bongo King and daughter Blossom, their children, because you know something happened Rasaibai when we were children going to the primary school in St. Catherine. Mama Bob Blossom and them children were eventually started going to the same primary school where I were attending. And there was youth man there who liked I know that the Rastafari man say, and the Rastafari family said, no ballad people can't come nowhere near with family. So no matter how youth man did like
I pray thee.
Sorry.
I think we're queuing up. We're near the end of our time.
Yes.
Lament the fact we're queuing up a 4-minute video, which is Sister Kamala, Bongo Vince's Rasmaka's daughter, who is giving the eulogy at his service in Ghana with 7 other family members. I think there's something profoundly deep about fatherhood in her presentation, and I think it goes really to the heart of the Nyahbinghi order. So this is what we want to see, and we can have some final comments. on that. Sister
Yes.
Colleen, if you can run that, that'd be great. Blessed.
Yes.
My name is Kamala Thomas, daughter of Vince Garfield Thomas. I want to extend my gratitude to all the relatives, friends, and attendees who have traveled from near and far to be here today to honor a great man, Vince Garfield Thomas, affectionately called IvI Vince or Rasmacher. Born on the 9th of August 1958, a person we all come to love and cherish for many years. The amount of people back home and here today who have shown up on different occasions to pay their last respect is only a testimony to the lives he personally touched. All of us know him in a variety of roles: husband, father, uncle, cousin, grandfather, teacher, and a great friend. I was privileged to have him as my father.
Oh, yes.
My father had 3 brothers, 4 sisters, nephews, nieces, 12 beautiful, blessed children, 8 boys and 4 girls, 13 grandchildren.
Wow.
Upon reflecting on the life of my father, unique
31
journey as a
participantes.
child, growing up in the heart of Kingston, Jamaica, in the 60s was a rugged road for a little Rasta youth. Growing up with only his mother, Lucina Williams, otherwise known as Mama Bubbles, a late matriarch of the Nyahbinghi order. At the age of 15, my father met my mother, Audrey Powell. She was 14 years old. It was love at first sight. They had their first child, a son, at age 16 and 15. For a better life, everyone left Kingston to live in Bull Bay, St. Thomas, the eastern part of the island. There, my father developed many crafts. He started making brooms to provide for his family. He would travel every 2 weeks to St. Thomas and Portland with his sons to sell. After years of making broom, my father moved on to farming. He would have planted in the 14 parishes of Jamaica to take care of us. And when I say plant in the 14 parishes of Jamaica, is no joke. My father, one of the greatest weed planter. And due to that, Papa have some of the movers and shakers, some of the biggest friends they can think of. Backyard. You know, if you love marijuana, you want the best, right? If you want the best, you have to lick maca, right?
Of course.
All right. So when we say the best.
Best
All right. And you see, apart from being a great farmer, Papa was also a great cook. A great cook. And he will never cook without a coconut.
Yeah, I told that.
If you want a coconut, you not cook.
Yeah.
You hear me, I tell you. And in a blend,
I
you know,
used to.
old
Great time,
fashioned,
my great
and
time.
squeeze it. You understand me? And when
Yeah.
you eat film food, me I tell you, you want to live in the kitchen, but if you listen, that of your honor, me I feel on the farm. All right. A dancer. My father was also a great dancer. He loved him reggae music. Conscious music. You see when Papa and Mama, all right, my mother have a thing where she love come out and
Mommy.
and my father would come in. Listen, don't bother with them thing there. What a waste and why?
Remember the thing.
Yeah, he was a library for me. You know, honestly, I'm gonna say this passionately. He was a library for I. Yeah. Anything, whatever it's news, politics, social issues, he give me a reasoning, you know, I can move forward. Papa always wanted to repatriate to the motherland. In February 2024, his vision come true. He was extremely happy. He kissed the ground when he land here in Ghana. Papa kissed the ground. After a few months in Ghana, Papa transitioned. onto a spiritual realms. Rest up in Zion, Papa. Due to the power you carry, my father, 8 how could I make the trod?
Nice.
That's greatness. I tell you that. Enough ones.
Them are
One
ones
reach
out
us. As Rasta growing up, it's always a passion to reach the motherland. And regardless, it's because of the death of my father I reach here. We have to appreciate all the ones them will make it possible. Aye.
Rastafari.
So,
Yeah.
God bless. There's something to be said for fatherhood in that statement. We could extract many things there of what Russ Vince did for his family, but I love what Sister Kamala said at the near the end, where she said, he gave me a reasoning I could move forward. That's one of the things that the patriarchs and elders of the Bingi house have done for so many of us. And I include myself in that. Much reasoning, much searching, know yourself is the message, and you can move forward.
Rastafari.
So my brother, Sister Carmen called me. That's Russ Vince's queen. She called me at 4 o'clock in the morning 2 nights ago to let me know that the family, herself, Sister Kamala, and the other 6 with them, are all now intending to stay in Ghana. Vince's sacrifice put 8 ones on the blessed continent. Ras IvI, maybe you could say a few words on that before we, seal.
Most definitely, Jakes. I mean, when I found that this became a reality, I said, this is historic, this is unprecedented. I've never heard of the transition of a Rastafarian elder brethren on the continent and being a father, and his transition brought 8 of his children to Africa. I don't think that would have happened if they had said, we want to go home and we need 8. But his strength, even in debt, brought 8 of his children to the continent. And if the reality is that they will stay there, it's really a very, a very historic occasion. It's destiny, divine destiny. And even in debt, Vince was a powerful man. Rastafari.
Haile Selassie the First. Brother Jelani, if it's time, I can turn it over to the eye.
Well, give thanks. I am kind of left without much to say. I wanted to ask a question, though, to both Ifia and Ras IvI. And that relates to what happens outside of the Nyahbinghi. The Nyahbinghi seems to create a moment of community and family. And so how do you keep the links that are painfully separated going between the Nyahbinghi? And just say a little about the family away from the Bingi and what that has meant in terms of what you do and don't do. You mentioned an interesting case of your daughter teaching you a technique with the drum. And you clearly didn't restrict her, that kind of thing. Just talk a little bit about the other environment that you have to navigate.
No, when you leave Bingi now, you're back in Babylon. Outside in Babylon now, you face all the persecution. Them have school tomorrow. This is that place now where one boy go grab off your thumb when you go to school and you come back and the minute you report. So it's like you come back to a battlefield, you leave Zion and come back in a turmoil. Everything else is happening, out there in Babylon, because school start now and you gone back to school and the many different problems will confront you. You know, this boy grab out your thumb, the boy they said this about Rasta, the one they call you nice head. And this is a teacher, they say, tell you, oh, your head wrap big. So them getting it from teachers, them getting it from students, you know, you have youths in the community who would have, so back outside of Bingi, it was a battlefield, you know, but in terms of continuity with the Nyahbinghi tradition, oh yes, man, the drums are, when I have the drums, the chant them and go on. When we come back from Bingi now, the youths would ape each elder. You know, you'd see one come with him legs, kind of farm a key and say, give her a speech. And then you would know, say, that's Bongo Gabby. You know, so there was always this humor of everyone trying to just ape a different elder. You know, the one sound elder, you know, the elder would have told you that, yes, this must happen a certain way. So each time we go Bingi, you come back and the youths them, and I too, we had our joy time as to what to place the different characters. Bingi was just our place where we find the theater, the actors. Oh, Bongo Daniel was a drama man on the drums. So, you know, even playing drums, you'd echo Bongo Daniel and the way he was. And when Bongo Daniel hear a voice that was not harmonious, and you'd hear one of the youths would say, oh, frog voice. You say, oh, that's Bongo Daniel. So Bingi was just our everything, but coming back as a Rastafari family, the liberty continue, you know, going out in morning, you have to be able to say Psalms 1, and, you know, every one of them know the different Psalms, and, you know, but it was confrontational environment coming back from Bingi. Bingi was home. Bingi was just the joy of being in your surrounding. Everybody, Rasta, your grandfather, your father, you have your different, nobody in the day for their fight. You know, so Bingi was the place to be. Sister Ify. Sister Ify, ready?
Mama Ify, you there?
Yes. What did you ask me? To answer the same question, give my perspective on the same question that Rastafari asked?
Just after leaving Bingi, how did you keep family and strength away from the Nyahbinghi and continuity with the family at the Bingi?
It was a difficult task. When we left Nyahbinghi, even though I felt very energized, because as you and I are aware, you know, the system never allowed I to express myself truly. It was very challenging because really and truly, I personally didn't know what to do. I didn't know how Mama Yanzi dealt with it because she was more engaged with the youth to Diana, you know. But I felt a psychological trauma when we leave Nyahbinghi and we felt like we had to go back out there. It was like a fear.
Yes.
There was a fear that developed and we don't know what to do and you don't know what to expect. And I think that kind of impact a lot of I's family, the youths at the time, where after a while they were very tired and they didn't want to deal with it anymore. And so they go other places and trying to see if they could find a space of comfort zone. My sister, who I follow, I met, she did that. She didn't want, and she went and cut her locks and everything because she wanted to disassociate herself from the traumatic experiences after she come out the ISIS. I was gone home, going to the school. The principal son pull off my thumb off my head and throw it on the ground right in at the time when recess is going on, you know, everybody there. And then I look at them, say, 40 leg in your here. And then she fight him and beat him up. And then the principal suspend her. And then Bingi to go there to the school and this and that. So it was very a kind of scaring energy that it brought when we had to go back out. And we weren't trained into, you know, sensitizing to say, expect this and that and that. We were just living Diana's life as human being and just reckoning with Diana's agency. So it has been it was a traumatic experience. It frightened Diana. I didn't know how the parents dealt with it because they never really talk about it like that. They just dealt with it and dealt with Diana, you know, experience and Diana's emotion that was coming out from going forward into this into the system. Yes, I.
Give thanks, Mama Arthur. I think we want to not extend the time too much, but we can take a couple questions for Rash IvI or Mama Ifia. If there are any questions, let's see a raise hand. I can just acknowledge. Rash IvI,
Yes,
we don't talk about the way that you've developed the performance of the coronation as a major sort of feature. And there are many things we have not spoken about.
Oh, coronation was key to a whole lot of things, you know, wanting to unearth what was hidden away. How did the emperor ascend to the throne, you know, amidst the rumors we've been hearing, and just going into the community and looking at the community and say, no, we have to reenact this grand coronation. We have to now go to Nyahbinghi and come out with a sense of knowledge. I remember doing it in a classroom because outside at Bingi, there was not enough space for the knowledge to be expounded. And I saw in Mapen community, we had this gap when youths were rising up, but not with a sense of real knowledge as to what Rastafari is. So we started with my brethren Rasmanga. We started a unity whereby we invited all the youths to come out on a Friday evening in a little ghetto space where a restaurant was, and we started teaching. You know, the month of, like now, we would be talking about Leonard Percival Oil because it's the month of June. You know, come July, it's the birth of His Majesty. Come August, it's Garvey. So all the knowledge surrounding Garvey, you know, and you know, the question of Garvey versus Haile Selassie during the war, we clarified that in with all the expertise and which we had. And then come September, we just talk about Ethiopian New Year, but we were now preparing now for the grand coronation. So we had all the information on the coronation. And I remember in 1997, we got the symbols made up. Myself, Raskava, we put expertise together, and we made the symbols of the coronation. And in a classroom in Mapen, we actually enacted, show the youths how His Majesty was crowned, what psalm was read, how the sword was tended with Psalm 45, how the anointing went, and we went through a coronation exercise. We burned frankincense and myrrh to get the ambience and of what Ethiopia was. And I said, wow, the Nyahbinghi needs this. We need to take this from the classroom of the cutting edge cultural identity and take it to Montego Bay. I remember calling Bongo Joe, said, tell Bongo Isaac, him have to remember Psalm 45. You have to remember that portion that said, gird thy sword upon thy thigh. Tell him to recite. And we were just preparing ones in a hurry to be a part of the priesthood. On the spot, at times, I was trying to get one to play the role right there. In 1997, at Bingi in Pitford was special. I saw elders cry. When Bongo Rocky, who I made into the high priest of Axum, when he took the triple crown and went up the red carpet to place the crown on the altar, he was so nervous. I look at Bongo Rocky shaking, his hand was shaking. And he was just presenting the triple crown and the words of the coronation. I saw Elder Negos. He was going up and he was nervous. What we did, we brought a aura, a presence of divinity in the tabernacle. Ones were in St. George's Tabernacle and Cathedral for the grand coronation in the great tents. And listen to the first time TVJ camera persons were inside the tabernacle. Muta Baruka was one of the priests with the incense burner. I mean, coronation came to Pitford in 1997 in a real way. When I look and saw elders with tears streaming down their cheeks, I said, yes, this was a sacred moment never before experienced. It was a time where everyone could say, I was at coronation. And then later on, having gone to Florida and seeing the ambience of a coronation event Mike Barnett had invited me to, or told the organizers about Rastafari, and they invited me there. And I saw the pomp and splendor of their decoration. I proposed to them, why not let us have a wedding in a setting like this? And they had a wedding, which was Rusty and Sister Audrey. I was there as one of the priests with another brethren called Ras Mike. And then later on, I said, coronation. Can't we not do coronation? And so we went there and did coronation. Oh, sorry about that. We went and we did coronation at in Florida. This time we got all the actors in place. Could we find, when I mentioned that we need a brethren to play the role of His Majesty, everyone said, play the role of His Majesty. Who can play the role of Haile Selassie? And ones were questioning, who dare us to act His Majesty? But when I said the Empress, nobody said anything. Yeah, final decision come. But who dare to be the representative of the Emperor, to be crowned on the throne? So to talk about that coronation event and how it all happened, I can just say, in finality, it was one of the best gathering I had ever been. The discipline, the aura of the moment, the way it was done. We had the twin thrones, we had the symbols, we had everything. What happened in the tabernacle, we took it to a higher level in South Florida. And I mean, those who were there was a 10-year-old child, and I can't forget one sister from Rasta Inc. telling me that a mother who brought her 10-year-old child to the coronation, the child said to her mom, when he saw what was happening and saw the emperor was crowned and he stood in his imperial vestments with the triple crown on his head, the sword of Solomon at his side, the golden scepter, the golden globe of the earth. When this young man saw that image that stood there and sat on that throne, he turned to his mom and said, Mom, is he God? And when I heard that, I said, yes, this child got the feeling that that king that I saw crowned must be God. And I know that 1930, if that young man was there under the great tents, that same thought would have come to him that that man, Haile Selassie I, must be God. So the coronation, you know, as I said, I wrote the coronation article for Rastafari International News 1987. And from that, I was so attached to the grand coronation. I saw coronation as the key thing that concretized the liberty of Rastafari. The Lion of Judah ascended the throne with his empress. Yeah. And the many prophecies that were read at his coronation, you know, just to see a priest coming before His Majesty and said, thy throne, O God, is forever and forever. The scepter of thy kingdom is a righteous scepter. You know, I said, wow, these were prophetic words. When Saru was brought the sword of Solomon to Haile Selassie I, and the Abuna said, gird thy sword upon thy thigh, O thou most mighty, in thy glory and thy majesty. And when the Abuna accosted him to say, with this sword shall ye punish the wicked and protect the righteous. These were prophetic words coming from scriptures before the 52 nations who were gathered at the grand coronation. Europe, the best of Europe then saw that Haile Selassie I, he was not just a king crowned in Africa, but all these biblical prophecies that were tendered when he received one of the 7 ornaments. This must have been a fulfillment of prophecy. The God King came, unto us a child is born, a son is given, and government shall be upon his shoulder. His name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Ever-Living Father, and the Prince of Peace. All that was fulfilled. The prophecy of Christ ascending the throne of David, grand coronation brought that out. And I'm thankful that we did. You know, recently a sister said to me, I should said it on a platform, why the organizers, who was Rasta Inc., righteous apostles serving the Almighty, why this coronation tape was done with such joy and highliness. And today, it is not even on YouTube where one can see it freely in the global space, because many ones have not seen this coronation reenactment, which is on film and DVD. And we give thanks to Mike Barnett, who was part of that gathering too, wrote a nice article on it. He screened it at IvI campus. Jerry Small was there. And I tell you, at one time I was saying, we have to cut this. And when you hear Jerry Small say, no, man, what I cut this thing for? Make the thing play, man. If you can have Jerry Small, make the thing play. Current ceremony, there was nothing that he said, no man, not go so line out tell her. Jerry would have objected. But when I sat there and heard Jerry beckoning to my, no man, no cut the thing, man. We need to watch this thing. I felt gratified. If you can please Jerry Small, yeah, you're on the ball. You know, so
All right. I'm glad you had a chance to give us a little of that. But the film is actually available on DVD, so people who are not aware of it can actually see what you're referring to. I want to share with you, Mama Eleanor is sending you her love and appreciation.
Oh,
you apparently took good care of her
please.
daughter, and she's here. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, man. And
please.
she's blessing you up.
Please, Sister Eleanor, give thanks.
Yeah.
You were part of that 1986 trod. You know, and that picture, I always say, yes, give thanks, Mama. Enough love, enough blessings, a joy to, you know, just hear from the eye. You know, it just brings joy, you know, from the days of yesterday up until today. Give thanks.
I want to bring in our brother from the Eastern Caribbean, Brongo Wisely. Just if he has a quick word he might wish to share. I know he has been in the international space with the eye.
Yes, sir.
And then I want to ask Ras IvI to share a few words himself. And then if he doesn't mind sealing us up with a closing for this session. And, you know, IvI, the father is the teacher, and you're one of our very best. So we give thanks for that sharing that you did today.
Please say that silently.
Truth.
Whisper that in my ears.
All right. May I invite Bongo White?
Just Jelani, before we go, I must mention how we organized also Leonard Howell's centenary occasion and brought the commune up to Pinnacle for the first time in 1998 from the Nyahbinghi order. At Scott's Pass, we journeyed up to Pinnacle. That was a moment in time. I remember Bongo Watto speaking of setting foot up in Pinnacle on the hilltop for the first time. And I said, wow, that centenary occasion for Leonard P. Howell was an awesome celebration, meeting the family down in Chedela Park and cheering in the drums and chant, phenomenal. So we give thanks to those.
And Ras IvI, you know, what we've heard today is how you've helped to bring the Nyahbinghi into the 21st century somewhat. And, you know, we've not touched on the uncomfortable issues of the funeral and the burial and that kind of thing. But you've really prepared yourself to deal with uncomfortable issues and to apply yourself steadfastly in, you know, being a part of the solution. So we give thanks.
As you mentioned, these interment, these sessions that was taboo because, you know, death wasn't a part of the vocabulary. But you see, Ras Iration I brought me into this thing and left me alone and gone. What he did, just before his passing, he said to daughter Mitzi, tell Ras IvI if he's planning to come and see me I can't remember if it was, I said like it was the Tuesday and was planning, or the Monday I was planning to see him on the Wednesday or the Thursday. He said, tell us IvI, if he's waiting for that time to come and see me, he will not see me. Ras Iration died the day before. So he wanted to see me, but I knew what he was going to say to me. Ras Iration felt that I was the bridge between the elders and the youth. Ras Iration would say, Ras IvI, I could mention something to the elders, and they would say no. And you mentioned the same thing, Ras IvI. I don't know if it's the charisma, the love they had for you. They would say yes. So you represent the bridge between the elders and the youth. You must take this and move along with the change that is to be within the order. So I remember of my first participation in a funeral. Ras Iration was late. Who it was? The great Ras Bonagees had transitioned. And Bonagees, when I saw the earth coming off the hill that carried the remains of Ras Bonagees, my heart started pounding. It's my first funeral. I've never seen this thing before. When the morticians came with the casket, I pointed them to a back room from the main community center hall. And I like office area, I told them to put the casket around there. So when Ras Iration came, Ras Iration said, Ras IvI, where is the casket? I said, it's round in another room around there. He said, Ras IvI, what is it doing around there? I said, when I told the guys to put it, he said, no, Ras IvI. You tell them to bring the casket back around to here, put it in front. And I was saying, you mean the casket I got it right in front of where we stand up? I was scared. This was my first time standing just 1 foot away from the remains of a beloved elder. Ras Iration brought me in this thing. He left me and gone. But I've seen it as a reality. It's part of something we have to embrace. We could not have our elders passing like that, and there is no recognition, no renown. So it's a thing that we all have to embrace, and I just want more ones to participate in it to ensure that when our beloved has served us well, you know, we can say, well done, like that father went up to Ghana, 8 of them, to say to dad, well done, Brother Maka, well done, dad. You have done your lion's share of duty, and you have actually brought us home to Mama Africa.
And Ras IvI, what kind of father would not embrace the final right for elders and beloved ones? So it's another dimension of fathering you're showing us that we have to also understand. I just before I bring in Bongo Wisely, I want to share a comment that Iration made once. I think we had arrived at the Bingi together. It was coronation, and you were overjoyed when you saw him. So you immediately roped him in and said, you know, I want you to be in the reenactment. So Iration is waiting on rehearsals, which never happened. And he's at the altar with you. And you know how the thing is done. Iration comes to me and said, this man is a genius. We are rehearsing it as we are performing it. And that was, you know, the secret to how it is that you managed to kind of bring it all together. You know the resources you had with you, and you know what you could demand of those resources. Bongo Wisely, any comments?
May I say one thing, Rasalani, quickly?
Please, go ahead, sister.
Yes. So I just wanted to, as Ras IvI highlighted the coronation, which is the precedent on which the family-orientedness stands through Haile Selassie and Her Majesty, Empress Menen. I also want to highlight for I, probably all of I don't know if I speak for all of I, who grew up as youth people within the family of Rastafari. The centenary of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I really cleared certain pathway and barriers for I when I went through the island in 1992.
Yes.
The clearing the iris of Haile Selassie I, it was monumental for I because the schools, the parishes knew a little bit more and become more sensitized about the heretical history and the cultural history of IvI. And so I give thanks for that, the 1992 centenary of His Imperial Majesty. It was a clearing point for IvI as younger generation of Rastafari. Give thanks.
Give thanks, Sister Ivy. Nice mentioning that, because when we look at the videos and we reminisce the whole thing, oh, give thanks to us Iron Lion. He was on this thing. Oh, he was such an organizer. I mean, we just have to give thanks that centenary happened. I was privileged to be in Ethiopia, and at a time when the flag was just being taboo. Mengistu ran 91, we were there 92, and we brought back the Lion of Judah flag. And I remember when we were about to visit Africa All, and the authorities told us we can't bring the flag of the Lion of Judah in Africa All. And I was adamant when I heard the sisters, we have to put away the flags. I said, no, hold on, sister. We will not put away the flag of the Lion of Judah to enter Africa All. Africa All was built by His Imperial Majesty. How can we put away the flag of Ethiopia to enter Africa All? No, we'd rather not go inside. So they saw that I was saying to everybody, no, we ain't bowing out. We ain't bowing out. We have to allow us. And they went, they talked to the organizer, the man at the helm of things, and he sent them back to say, we will be allowed one flag. And we said, wow, one represents the nation. We will make that compromise, put away all the other flags. And they said, that's IvI. You must bear that one flag. You stood up for the principle, and it happened. So 92 was great. It was a great year. I mean, at that time I said, I have to write this chant before I left Jamaica. We wrote the centenary chant, and I heard the family sung it all around the island. We did it on the steps of Africa All. I mean, centenary was great. Shanti wrote this great song for the birth of His Majesty in the tabernacle in Shashamane. 92 was really a great year for Rastafari. Give thanks, Sister Ivy.
Ras IvI, the photo of the eye holding the flag in Africa Hall is at the end of the PowerPoint. We didn't get there. We didn't reach there.
Nice, Jay.
I pray thee for Ras Iration. You have to remember, Ras Iration, Mama Ithia trained Mama Ithia to deal with transition rights. He, cleared the way when them say woman can't touch the harps. Father, Iration have done a whole lot. And of course, that 1992 in Shashaman, bless her, and Ethiopia.
Yes, and I must
Give thanks, Queen Mother.
I met you there, Sister Father Moses, and you were all about unity, Ark, Almighty Rastafari Kingdom. Can't forget you. We met some great sisters, great brothers in Ethiopia. It was special. It was really a special moment.
That was my first ambassadorial assignment as the Queen Mother. Bongatani and all of them sent me, and I represented. Bless.
Rastafari. And at that time, it was the first time since 1974, His Majesty's bedchamber at the Silver Jubilee Palace was open to Rastafari. And I said, wow. That's the first time I felt the reality of the psalm. I was glad when they said unto me, come, let us go into the house of the Almighty. When I recited that psalm, oh my, the psalm was real. I went into the house of the Lord, Rastafari.
Give thanks. I see that Bongo Wise is in camera, so please, Bongo Wise, and then Ras Ivy to seal us.
Yes, grand rising to the family. I greet each and everyone in the divine name of His Divine Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I and Empress Menen. Blessed love to the family.
Rastafari.
Yes, give thanks, Ras Ivai. Give thanks for
my brother from yesteryears.
Yes, from 83.
Yes, Yes, I at the
Yeah,
conference.
man.
That IvI conference was a key point in
Man.
establishing the oneness of Rastafari across the Caribbean and the world.
Yes. I term it as the blueprint, you know, the blueprint for the unification of Rastafari.
Yes, I.
22-point resolution which came out.
Yes,
yes. I mean, but something, we've made a lot of strides, a lot of progress has been made, you know, and but as His Majesty said, the victory is not yet total. So
areas of
resistance
still remain.
Definitely serious.
Yes, I.
Yeah, man. So I just want to give thanks, Ras IvI, for that presentation, that historical thing which they have, you know, let off the fire. And I know a lot of ones would have learned quite a lot, you know, from it. Because the whole trod, the Nyahbinghi trod, even within Ayanola, St. Lucia,
yes, I.
the 86 trod is the watershed.
Yes,
from
I.
where we really start and really establish the Nyahbinghi order in Ayanola. And we have continued, you know. And I must give thanks to the IDEM and the House of the Sons of Thunder, Ras Bonatis and the Sons of Thunder, who made that mission, you know, in 1986.
Yes, I.
Yes, I. Yeah, man.
Yes,
Sister Shiva and Ras Levi are on the platform and they can testify of that as well, too, you know.
And I can say today, Bongo Wise, you have stood up. Sometimes when I hear about Bongo Wise, I said, yes, of one spirit. We have stood up. We met as youths within the tribe. And we have never given up. We stay true to the mission, and among others, you know, so I can say these global tribe has really brought a sense of family and brotherhood and sisterhood. Yes. You know, and when I look and see Rastafari globalized now in many languages, I am hearing the same chants we chant in Jamaica, in Chile, in Ecuador, in Mexico, in South Africa, in Panama. I am even hearing the Nyahbinghi chants in Espanol. Fuego, fuego, Nyahbinghi, fuego.
Yeah, man, it's all barriers, all languages. But even Ayanola House played a crucial role in even having the Nyahbinghi in Martinique as well, you know, because of the connection, you know, we speak that French Creole. And yes, the brethren them used to come over to Ayanola, get strength, and then we go over to them, share the love again. And it's it's moving, you know.
Yes,
yeah, man. It has really been a blessing, you know, knowing I from such times. And I just pray that His Majesty continue to keep the eye up full and right as the eye continue on the journey, you know, because all of I and I need that strength because it's all for one and one for all. You know, so we really need to. And again, I want to speak of even some of the what people would call changes, you know, because from the 83 era there, you know, I mean, within the Nyahbinghi order, the time, daughters, sisters couldn't say anything, you know, there were a lot of things, you know, that were there at the time, which, like His Majesty say, you know, with time, change begets change.
And
there will be ones.
Don't want to cut in on the eye, but let me say this. Our matriarchs was so honorable. They stood their ground. I've never heard them grumble. I mean, because the Alpha Omega principle was always at Bingi, you know. The King Alpha, the Queen Omega. Remember, Sister Aina had the King Alpha, Queen Omega, Theocracy daughters. These daughters were so humble with their defined roles. They were part and parcel of the Nyahbinghi choir. When you see them dressing white and regalia coming into tabernacle among the elders, I remember some of them tracking the sacred chants for the elders. So I saw them loving their roles. I've never seen them frown and want to do what they were not allowed to do. Those daughters were just full of humility and grace, you know, and played their role well. there comes a time when we as youth we're looking at some issues and seeing that, but we need to hear the opinion of the sisters. We have not heard them speak when we have these reasoning, you know, and we said, no, man, we have to hear from the daughters, because longer time would go and inspect the facility and we'd come back and say everything is good. But when the sisters went to Bingi, the toilet seats were too large, too wide, those latrines, and then the sisters would complain, and we said, no, from now on, we will as part of the inspection team to go out facilities in order for family. And sometimes we need to hear from a sister because she will get a different point of view. Remember saying to Empress Baby I sister one being Nelly, we need to hear from the eye. She was so nervous. She said, it's the first time I was called upon to say in a gathering. And, you know, that struck I and I a lot. And we give thanks to Haile Selassie the first, his role that he played in bringing the Empress and thing. And as youngsters, we pass this on to the elders to say, no, we need sisters to play their role. But, you know, when we remember Miriam, our daughter Yuda, and daughter Bubbles and all, you couldn't tell those daughters that they were pride of things. These daughters were up there. You see them with them chalice among the elders. Them, you say, what, them daughters are special. You know, you see them sitting with all some elders about this. This is nice. And we, as youngsters, we admire those daughters. But give thanks to where we reach, you know, as I say, time to get change, and condition is hard to break. And we give thanks to where it reach right now. You know, I mean, like when we usually go Bingi and coronation, we emphasize his majesty. No, the emphasis is on the king, the queen, you know, the triple crown in that place. So it's just putting things in its right perspective, and we're not bashing elders and saying them with a bash woman, because the women of that time never feel that they were being bashed. You know, they love their roles, you know. And as we say, you go to the Orthodox Church, women sit on one side and men sit on one side. That's a tradition of the church that is considered sacred in Orthodoxy. There are traditions within the Bingi that are considered sacred to the traditions of Nyahbinghi, and we just have to, you know, comply and play our respective roles as family. You know, that's my view. Give thanks, Bungo, wisely.
Yes, I will give thanks again. I know the time is coming up to one perfect love, Rastafari.
No love, Rastafari.
Give thanks, Bungo wisely. We want to invite Ras IvI, another one of that generation of Bingi luminaries, to just kind of give us a short comment and then to seal us. Ras IvI.
Yes, greetings. Are you hearing I?
We are hearing you.
Yeah, as usual, you know, greetings and blessings in the name of His Majesty, Haile Selassie I. In the name of I Empress Wazira Menen. In the name of all I freedom fighters, past and present, all those who continue to fight for equal rights and justice, you know. Yeah, give thanks to be a part of this discussion, presentation, whatever we call it. But Ras IvI is someone that I personally, you know, we've been through so much things, we've done so much work together. And in talking about work, I still have to mention Nigel Land, Michael Land, because it was at his office at 133 Tower Street that a lot of things were accomplished. And one would know even though I'm a part of the Nyahbinghi house from a churchical point of view, but I'm a revolutionary at heart, and certain things that, you know, Rastafari were experiencing, you know, as a youth coming up, you know, the brutality, the harassment. So as a youth coming up, I decided that I wasn't going to take them things. And it happened just that even though I never become a lawyer, I just go into law and realize talking about constitutional rights and so on. So I've been very confrontational with the system, those who know I'm on from years, very, very confrontational in terms of ensuring and guaranteeing the enjoyment of our constitutional rights, you know. But with Ras IvI, you know, Ras IvI is a churchical part of what I see. It was that part of him that really inspired I after I met, you know, years ago. It was that real part of IvI that inspired I along the churchical line, even though, you know, all I and I in that time come up to, you know, the churchical vibes because and I started going being a teenager and so on. But then you come up and you have your own experience, you know, and I go into I stage, you know, man of God and God a man and, you know, rights and fighting, confrontation. I was at one time thinking about, you know, the military part of it, the gun part of it, and the time boom and the snipers, because in the 60s coming up, yeah, it was just injustice and brutality and harassment and grassroots youth, poor people, Rasta people, you know. That was another part of my DNA if you just look and just see them things happening and, you know, so that it was really and truly, and I had to go and study military warfare and come back in Jamaica, you know.
So I agree. You were the Malcolm X and I was the Martin Luther King.
Well, yeah, I was more than the Martin Luther King because I was always there with the Malcolm X, so to speak, you know.
Exactly.
Because everywhere and I went, and even that talk about Malcolm X Park 1988, you know.
Yes.
I talk about Howard University and all of them experiences there. You know what I mean? It was just something that was really very inspiring.
Yes,
to have met somebody like Ras IvI. And even until today within the Nyahbinghi house, it's fine I function. You know, I take on the churchical role if IvI is not there. But if IvI is not there, that's his role in my opinion. And in the opinion of Nyahbinghi house, even though IvI might not see it or say it that way. But, you know, I am going to perform that churchical role mostly when Ras IvI is not there, you know. But revolutionary at heart, organizational things, confrontational things. That's my thing. But again, I say IvI has always been an inspiration to I. And I think those who have a conscience, the vast majority of Rastafari brethren and sisters in Jamaica and those who internationally have met Ras IvI, you know. I remember, you know, Jakes bring up the issue of royalty and when Prince Dawit and Tamrat and Mulgeta IvI. The other one was Mulgeta.
Yeah, Mulgeta, yes, sir.
Yeah. And when we went to Jamaica House and the confrontation that we had with Edward Siago over this whole ganja issue, IvI, you know? Yes, so we've been through a lot when Mandela was supposed to come to Jamaica and Ras IvI had to leave Scotts Pass, go stadium, discuss, come back at midnight, one transportation to the other because I never have a vehicle, Ras IvI never have a vehicle, you know. So it's a lot of things, too much to mention that I and this brethren Ras IvI have gone through, have done, have accomplished through. Because when the Rastafari International News, and even again, Miguel, when we went through all of them schools, the Ras IvI, you know, going into high schools, colleges, you know, reasoning and discussion,
University.
you know. Yes, so Ras IvI has been a part, has been dear, and just blessed that he's still here. I am still here, and other, one of our brethren and sisters still here, though a lot have passed on. We just look at Rasmaka, you know. So, but we give thanks that I and I still here witnessing and continuing to carry out, you know, the works of His Majesty and the liberation struggle because, you know, irrespective is that this Rastafari movement spearhead the African liberation struggle in reality. When we look at the NOI, not criticizing anyone, and they look to Saudi Arabia, Rasta look to Africa, Rasta look to Ethiopia. It's not coincidental that Rasta look at Ethiopia, and Ethiopia is now being proven the cradle of mankind, the cradle of civilization, and all the this and that. No coincidence. So you know, I and I have been there walking and upholding the footsteps as much as possible for I elders. That and I saw that I thought that, you know, everything that they were saying and doing was right, but the respect and the love was there and the admiration, you know, that these people came up and stood out against a system of slavery and colonialism that I and I know was unjust, illegal, and unlawful, you know. So again, we just want to give thanks to Virgin, and when we'll continue in journey, continue in works, and Jah will continue to bless him and the family, and continue to bless her and I also. So Rastafari, I love every time, you know.
Give thanks, Ras IvI, and as we know, we're coming up to closing, and I think Ras Delani asked that I could have seal up like that. And just in closing, you know, them say beside a great lion, there must be a great lioness, and we give thanks to a sister that His Majesty gave to high, to give strength and endurance and, you know, the family vibes and all, and stood through great tribulations, you know, within the house of Nyahbinghi, and have never given up, you know. And we just give thanks to her, Sister Ivy, because without her, all this could not have happened. All my international travels would not have been if I ever have a firm lioness to hold the reins in my absence, you know. She was that and remained that figure that really created that royal balance, that my work could be what it should have been and is today. It could not have happened without that Empress, Sister Ivy, Empress Ivy, Rastafari.
Yeah, give thanks to Ivy, you know. Give thanks to that Ivy and the family, all the youths then. Give thanks because as the program is based on fatherhood, which fatherhood come through family, or fatherhood established family structure, you know, exactly. And I youth are there, and that I was talking when I come up and time gone in the 80s and 90s, the family structure, the children, you know. So give thanks for all the experiences and looking forward to greater things. Look hard at it, because when you look at even 1988 in New York, IvI, and the time when I land and at New York, JFK, and the type of motorcade that went from JFK into Harlem, and you know, you wonder if those times would ever come back again. You wonder if those things would ever manifest itself again, you know. So give thanks for the journey and give thanks for what has been accomplished, you know.
Rastafari.
Yes, give thanks. We want to give thanks for all those who joined us on the platform, particularly for Tron to have extended their meeting time and platform to support this Nyahbinghi Fatherhood reflection. Ras IvI, we were asking you to perform priestly duties, unless Ras IvI, you know, but we would love to hear you perform the priest to seal us up this afternoon. So we give thanks.
Does that, Ras Delani, before Ras IvI does that, it would be amiss not to mention that come a few days from now, I will be in Mexico. I don't habla español, but I'll be in Mexico among my Rastafarian brothers and sisters in Mexico, because it's the 70th anniversary of the visit of His Imperial Majesty to Mexico. And Empress Ivy and I are invited to be there. I wanted to have some more ones from Yard to be a part of the trad, but you know, the response was not forthcoming according to finances. But we'll be there for a few days to share in the glory of the Lion of Judah, visiting Mexico, receiving the honor of the Aztec Eagles, and you know, just to talk about the president or the prime minister at the time who stood up for Ethiopia during that fascist attack on Ethiopia, and he stood up at the league. So it's a joy just to be there to be a part of that. The 70th anniversary of the visit of His Imperial Majesty to Mexico. Yes, I
give thanks for that mention, yeah, man. That's part of the reason why this program is today. Yeah, man. Blessings and thank you once more.
Rastafari.
Yes, Delani.
Please go ahead, Rastafari.
Sacred duties, my brother.
Yes, give thanks again, you know. And I say how good and how pleasant it was to be together, to participate in this discussion, this presentation. Just ask the Almighty Rastafari to continue to guide I along the way, inspire I with wise mind, knowledge, and understanding.
Yeah.
Continue to direct and lead I in the paths of righteousness, that I live to see and conquer this evil system. Give I blessings, O Jah. Inspire I children also with wise mind, knowledge, and understanding. Help I to live the life that I know to live, that I know Haile Selassie, and I tradition and Ethiopian support to live. Bless I wise mind, father, the mother, ancestors. Guide I keep I, that I overcome petty prejudice, self-hate, self-destruction, that I will live and work, continue to work towards the unity, the upliftment, and the redemption of our people. Through the Iowa Finite Majesty, Haile Selassie, through the Iowa Finite Empress Waziri Minute, and through the Irish of our ancestors. Bless, keep, and guide all. Jah, Rastafari, Haile Selassie.
So let the word of our mouth and the meditation of our heart be accepted in thy sight, over.
Bless up,
Give thanks, family.
Give thanks.
Of blessings, yeah?
Enough
Yes,
love.
Love and blessing, my brother. Blessed love.
Give thanks, Mama Aisha. Love.
With that bongo grease.
Yes, Mama, I fear. Give thanks.
Ras Levi.
Aye.
Highly. Good to see that.
Love, sons and daughters, it's a pleasure, joy, just to be together in a virtual space and to, hear the words, Sister Ithia, those words, that trauma you talk about, Lord, when we left Bing, it was hell, we got back a Rome. Yeah, so.
But I then remember say at the home I came and spent my first summer holidays because we didn't have any family.
Yes.
We didn't have any family to go to.
Exactly.
And I was so drawn to the Mama Ivy that it was Ras Ivy who came and got me. I remember that he brought me back home from Clarendon.
Yes.
It was an amazing experience. But on the Bible, no one don't know it like how I know it because I experienced it. The home was the first home.
So that's two books then. We have Ras IvI and Sister Ithia.
Oh yes, Ras Jalani, Sister Ithia have an awesome experience with Nyahbinghi. She was like the bag that Irie did not leave. She was always by his side. So
oh goodness, that's not bad.
You have a whole lot of experience, with Irie Lion.